at Hammond Stadium in Fort Myers, Florida. The St. Louis Cardinals are in town to take on the Minnesota Twins. Things are winding down in the Grapefruit League, and both teams 1 week from today will start the real season. And we welcome you to Fort Myers, Florida. I'm Dick Bramer along with Ricky Horton and Bert Blyleven. And as things are winding down for both these teams, Ricky, one of the key things that might be decided today is who's going to fill out the back end of the Cardinal rotation.
Shelby Miller is the front runner in this Cardinal battle for that 5th spot. It's Joe Kelly, Trevor Rosenthal. We may see both those guys as well today. Shelby Miller was electric in September when he got his first chance to be a Cardinal. He's very young, but he's very, very gifted.
And Bert, for the Twins, they know Mike Pelfrey will be towards the front end of the rotation, but an important start for him and his catcher today.
Yeah, and Mike Pelfrey making his 6th appearance for the Twins, now coming off the Tommy John surgery. Remember, Joe Mauer was in the WBC, so he this afternoon will start the ball game and catch Mike Pelfrey, something that they have to work together and find that chemistry. Joe Mauer talked about it yesterday.
Everything's frozen in the upper Midwest, and we know it's a snowbound Midwest with the Cardinals fans digging out of a big snowstorm yesterday. Great way to relax and take it easy watching spring training baseball. It appears to be a sellout crowd here at Hammond Stadium, and a lot of red T-shirts and jerseys are here. And that's one of the rare red ones with it. Twins logo across the front. Twins were over in Jupiter, Florida at the beginning of the month of March, and now the Cardinals making a return trip here. And Mike Matheny hoping to finalize his starting rotation and at least taking a step in that direction here today.
Yeah, second year as the manager for the Cardinals. Last year he just had an outstanding start to his career, and tough shoes to fill obviously in Tony La Russa, but the Cardinals making the playoffs. I think he thinks he's got enough guys over there to maybe get there again. The question is which guys do you hold off on and give them more seasoning in the minor leagues? We're going to see some of those guys today, most notably Oscar Taveras.
I couldn't help but chuckle seeing Terry Steinbach and Mike Matheny shake hands. What was Joe Garagiola's old line? Two catchers shook hands, and it took them 15 minutes to untangle the fingers. Here's the Cardinals batting order. Daniel Descalzo leading off, Shane Robinson, then Matt Carpenter, Matt Adams, Oscar Taveras, Ty Wigginton, Adron Chambers, Tony Cruz, and Shelby Miller. Cardinals not going with a designated hitter today, and the Twins will have their DH in the lineup.
It's kind of something that Tony La Russa did too during spring training, so Mike is kind of taking that the same way.
I think he's followed some of the teachings of Mike, of course, or of Tony La Russa. Of course, he played for Tony, and I think some of the ways that you run a game he's taken from him. But Mike has done a lot to actually get some advice from Red Schoendienst and Whitey Herzog, and he's going to develop his own way. But I think in spring training, when you've got a young pitcher like Shelby Miller, you want to give him as much of the kind of the full experience of getting the at-bats as you can. It's part of his development.
And as we mentioned in the open, opening day is a week away, so you have to get these guys into, say Miller gets an opportunity, he has to lay down a bunt.
Right.
Well, the Twins take the field. It's a thinner roster than it was yesterday. We'll talk more about that as the game moves along. Mike Pelfrey in his first year with the Minnesota Twins, and you can see his numbers on the year. They've not been very good, keeping in mind all the while that Pelfrey's trying to come back from Tommy John surgery in record time.
Yeah, he had Tommy John surgery on May 1st when he was a member of the New York Mets, signing a one-year contract with the Twins over the winter. Pelfrey, control-type pitcher. He's making his sixth start of the spring. Now, his last start actually got rained out, and then he pitched the following day in Sarasota. Joe Mauer traveled with him down to Sarasota just so Joe Mauer could kind of get a feel of what Pelfrey features in, say, different situations.
Take a look at the Twins out in the field this afternoon. Josh Willingham will be the opening day left fielder. Darren Mastroianni is in center field today, but the news yesterday afternoon was Aaron Hicks has won the job out in center. Chris Parmalee will be the right fielder on opening day. Plouffe, Escobar in at short, Carroll at second, Morneau at first, and Mauer behind the plate. Mastroianni figures to make the team as a fourth outfielder, so congratulations to Aaron Hicks, who had some competition in camp, but he has made the team as the starting center fielder, making the jump from Double-A.
We talk a lot, Bert, about how spring training is such a fun time. It's beautiful. The weather's great. Everybody's happy to be here. But the reality is, for a lot of young players, this is kind of a gut-wrenching time. Am I going to get to do the job I want to do and have wanted to do since I was 8 years old, or am I going to get cut and have to go back to the minor leagues? So there's beauty, but there's also stress.
Yeah, you put your heart and soul out for every outing that you have. If you're a pitcher, if you're a hitter, it's every at-bat. I was talking to Terry Steinbach after our open down on the field, and Steiny said, this is his first year as a coach. He does not like this time of the year. You can imagine what a manager has to do when you have to send somebody down.
Here's Descalzo leading things off for the Cardinals, and the first pitch over for a strike. Pete Kozma figures to be the opening day Cardinal shortstop in the absence of Rafael Furcal.
And Descalzo has done a lot to help Matt Carpenter develop as the next Cardinal second baseman as well, and that's probably Descalzo's best position. But he's going to play some third base potentially too, as will Matt Carpenter. As the Cardinal news today is that David Freese had a bit of a setback yesterday, and he may not be ready for a while.
Missing the inside corner, 2-1. Freese, oddly enough, injured his back in the Twins game in Jupiter, Florida, when he made a foul ball catch, but tumbled through an open gate and hurt his lower back. Lifted foul over the Twins dugout, 2-2. I think an MRI is scheduled for later today for Freese, and they hope that he'll be able to come back. He has played some since the injury, but had a little, as you said, a little bit of a setback yesterday.
Actually had a home run the other way in his first at-bat after coming back, but the setback happened during batting practice, and really Cardinals very tentative about talking about his potential return.
There's a drive to center field. Mastroianni racing near the warning track, making a basket catch. Now a different wind than the one we had yesterday that was blowing out about 40 miles per hour. Now more of a crosswind, and you could see that as Mastroianni was tracking the fly ball.
Yeah, sure looked like that ball started out straightaway center and then drifted over toward right center. So the outfielders will try to make the adjustment on any fly ball. Look at Mastroianni. All of a sudden now he has to hustle just to get over there, and makes a nice running catch for the first out.
Shane Robinson will bat next for the Cardinals. A bit of a delay as first base umpire Bob Davidson left the field momentarily. Good spring for Robinson. And again, Pelfrey missing the inside corner, ball one.
Now, Ricky, you know, Mike didn't bring a lot of the A players along, but a lot of these guys have an opportunity maybe to be that backup infielder or outfielder. Robertson, a center fielder. Last year, you know, it didn't hit real well, 253, 3 home runs, but a guy with some speed that can create some havoc.
But he has had a good spring, and he's shown that he can really play center field, and at this point, he's really the backup to John Jay.
Line drive to center field. Mastroianni with the retrieve, and Robinson has a base hit.
Also shown some speed, so we may see some speed from Robinson before it's over.
On yesterday's ball game, 7 home runs hit. Started by Joe Mauer's 3-run home run in the first inning. Jimenez with the, who did we play? Toronto Blue Jays. Every game's the same. But, you know, he had a couple 2-run home runs. Brian Dozier with a 2-run home run. Justin Morneau with a 2-run home run.
Well, the batter's Matt Carpenter. And there is strike one.
Not a good day yesterday to be a fly ball pitcher.
No, definitely not. And
you
really
want to be a sinker baller.
And a really good test today for this Twins lineup that can be very powerful, especially in the middle for Shelby Miller. Cardinals again don't have their A lineup here, but these are guys that are figuring to make a difference and be a part of the club in 2013.
A good chunk of the Cardinals A lineup is hurt.
Right.
Beltran with a broken toe, and I mentioned David Freese for call out for the year.
Yeah, sad news that Chris Carpenter, a great starter, finally decided to call it quits.
And that was not an easy decision for him, and not an easy process, because he's such a competitor, Bert, as you know, and just so much fun to watch pitch. And unfortunately, we're not going to see him this year.
Pelfrey will get the out at first. And on the play, Robinson goes to second.
A good little pitch right there by Pelfrey. Looked like a cutter slider inside that kind of jammed Carpenter. All he could do was almost a defensive type swing. Take a look at this pitch right here on the inner half of the plate. Kind of tied Carpenter up for the second out.
And now Matt Adams will hit for St. Louis. Runner at second, 2 down.
We do not, you know, do a lot of the Cardinal games, Ricky, but you look at the numbers of this young man right here. I mean, Matt Adams came up a little bit last year, but you look at his minor league numbers, 82 home runs in 4 minor league seasons. This guy's got some pop.
And Mike Matheny has said he doesn't have anything to prove ever again in AAA. He deserves to be in the big leagues. The question was, is there going to be a spot for him? But with the injuries that we mentioned, there probably will be.
That skips under Morneau's glove. Robinson will score from second, and Adams will go to second. So Morneau looked like he got the glove there, but a hot smash skipped under his glove.
Skipping under Morneau's glove is not a phrase I assume you guys have said very often.
No, not too often. So that ball had to have some little bit of hair on it right there as it got past Morneau very quickly. And it just shows the kind of the strength of, you know, Matt Adams as far as that ball coming off his bat. Let's take another look at it right here.
Turns on this one. He has really good power the other way as well, so you can't really stay one way with Matt Adams. Kind of a short stroke for a big guy, and again, that ball got on Morneau in a hurry.
Well, they give Adams a double, so Matt picking up an RBI.
A few nights ago, the Twins took their top minor league prospect, Miguel Sano, up to Tampa to play against the Yankees. And the Cardinals have their top prospect, Oscar Taveras, in the lineup today. And Pelfrey shaves the outside corner twice.
What we've seen from Taveras is a guy that understands the strike zone well for a young player. He's only 20 years of age, but he also swings like he means it. He's not a defensive guy to plate at all. You think of him as an RBI guy and potentially could be a 5-tool player down the road. Again, at 20, you don't really know, but you like what you see so far.
Chronologically and probably otherwise, Taveras a year ahead of Sano. He's played Double-A ball last year, and Sano played low Class A ball.
4 minor league seasons for Taveras, a .321 career hitter.
2 strikes. Pelfrey giving up a couple of hits and some well-hit balls here in his first inning. And so far, just 1 run. Breaking ball. Hit on the ground. Nice stop at second by Carroll. No play at first, but he saved a run with his backhanded diving stop.
Boy, you like to see that from your middle infielders. If they're able to show some range with a runner on, 2 outs, you know Adams going off with a crack of the bat. And Jamie Carroll goes up the middle here. He's playing pretty much straight away. Nice diving play to save a run. The veteran Jamie Carroll.
First and third, still 2 gone. And Ty Wigginton will hit. Wigginton broke out of a bit of a slump yesterday.
Wigginton new to the Cardinal organization, signing a 2-year contract over the winter.
Talking to him before the game, he's very excited about being a Cardinal. He's heard all kinds of good things about the organization from top to bottom. He's thrilled to be in a Cardinal uniform, but clearly he's not happy with what he's done yet offensively. He's just kind of off to a slow start. Got a lot of at-bats in a minor league game 2 days ago. They sent him down for about 10 at-bats in a AAA game just so he could kind of get that feel going again. And I think the timing's improved a bit, but clearly not where he wants to be come April 1st.
Wigginton, 11 seasons at the major league level. The Cardinals would be his 8th different team to play for. Came up with the Mets, spent some time with the Pirates, the Rays, the Astros, the Orioles, Rockies. Last year with the Phillies.
Nice to have a power guy off the bench. I think that's kind of the thinking with Wigginton and potentially Matt Adams from the left side.
When you have a spring training and you get 40, 45 at bats, it's kind of hard to hide an 0 for 18 in there. 1-1. And Pelfrey misses the outside corner. 2-1.
One thing I should mention to you, Dick, I don't know if we talked about this earlier, but Bert and I have decided to go double or nothing on our rings from 1987. And we all know how the 7th game of the World Series turned out that year, but we just thought we'd kind of put them up on the table here and see what happens at the end of 9.
So there's a little more at stake here than what we talked about in the open.
Just to add some spice.
All right. 2-1 to Wigginton.
Well, I like my World Series championship ring.
And I actually have my, what we affectionately call the loser's ring. But it was the pennant ring from '87, and that was a wonderful time at 2 Midwest organizations going at it in the World Series, and memories that both you and I, Bert, will never forget.
Some good memories.
2-2 to Wigginton. Probably wasn't even born back in 1987. You guys are old.
Guilty.
Jam shot and a roller foul.
I would imagine coming off the Tommy John surgery. I don't know, Ricky, I don't know if you ever had elbow surgery. I did back in 1981. The hardest thing, I think, is to go out there and not know that it's still there, that you just had it done. And that's something that you have to do by doing what Pelfrey's doing, is getting out on a mound and actually working that negative out. You have to watch your shoulder because mentally you're already putting too much pressure on that elbow.
Pop up that'll come back and out of play.
Well, the worst thing you can do is think about it. Then you get defensive and you start to kind of maybe not finish your breaking pitches and not kind of let the fastball go. And it really is, you know, it's tough enough to pitch at this level with these guys. It's a tough sport to play day in and day out. And to have that injury thing in the background is something he'll have to work his way through. And certainly again, working with Maurer, trying to figure out how he can help him through that and see some signs of maybe him not letting the ball go.
Well, it's the work that Maurer's doing right now with Peltry. What's his out pitch right here? Maybe to get out of this situation with, 2 outs, 2-2 count. You want something to happen on this pitch right here rather than go 3-2. Then you have, Taveras at first taking off.
2-2 to Wigginton. A long first inning for Mike Pelfrey. And missing inside, it's a full count with Adron Chambers on deck.
Now Justin will be playing behind the runner at first. And why that 2-2 pitch is so important, you don't want to go 3-2 because now Taveras is going to get a good jump. What if it's another play like Carroll had to make and maybe a force out at second may not be a force out anymore.
Runner goes and the pitch lifted to center field, hit right at Mastroianni. That ends the inning. Wigginton, the third out, a little longer in the tooth than we thought. He was born during the World Series of 1977. And particularly at the plate. His first at bat, a 3-run home run over the palm tree in right center field, and then later on a 3-run double. Maurer had the benefit of the WBC experience, the intensity of those at bats. Come back to camp swinging the bat as if he's in the mid-season form. So the Twins are looking for great things from their all-star catcher again in 2013. Cardinals get a first inning run on 3 hits. Mike Pelfrey stranded a couple, and now Shelby Miller will take the mound for the Cardinals. And he'll face this Minnesota Twins lineup. Darren Mastroianni, the center fielder. Jamie Carroll will bat second. Then Maurer hitting third. Willingham back in the lineup today after missing yesterday. Justin Morneau, Ryan Domak, Chris Parmelee, Trevor Plouffe, and Eduardo Escobar.
Shelby Miller on the mound.
Miller has outstanding fastball in his repertoire. He's learning the curveball. He's got a good curveball, but it's not a plus pitch for him yet. Also throws a changeup. But I'm really looking forward to see him face the middle of this Twins lineup. I mean, you don't get much better than 3, 4, and 5 for Minnesota. So a good test for him. He's very confident. He's a really confident guy, and you look for that in a young pitcher and acts like he belongs there. And again, the battle for that 5th spot for the Cardinals, he's been in it, and he's done nothing to lose it. My guess is he'd have to do something extraordinarily poorly today to lose that 5th spot. I think he's being geared for that, and they probably just haven't told him yet.
Well, Miller, just 22 years old, the #1 pick by the Cardinals back in 2009 out of Brownwood High School in Texas.
1-1 to Mastroianni. A lot of intrigue this year about former Cardinal pitcher Kyle Loesch, and would the Cardinals be interested in re-signing him? He was still out there until today, where now it looks like he's going to sign with the Brewers. Here's a drive to right field, and drifting out near the track, Taveras makes a catch, 1 away. Cardinals out on the field. An outfield this afternoon: Chambers, Robinson, and Taveras. Wigginton, Descalzo, Carpenter, Adams, and Cruz.
Really three center fielders really in the outfield today. Shane Robinson's played a lot out there, but so is Chambers and Taveras. Taveras, the real question for him, is he a center fielder or is he a corner outfield? And I don't think that the answer is really in yet. And to see whether or not he stays with this team or not. You start looking at all the injuries the Cardinals just keep piling up. Again, David Freese now out for some period of time, and Carlos Beltran's hurt, and not sure when he's coming back, and so who knows who may get an opportunity at the big league level.
You know, you hate to see it happen, but I call it opportunity.
Right.
You know, it's the way it is. You don't, you know, you don't wish for somebody to get hurt, but if that window opens, I want to jump through it and hopefully stay at the major league level. That's where everybody's dream is to be.
Well, Ricky, you and I were part of a conversation Mike Matheny was having with the media this morning, and that's pretty much what he says. Hey, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You got a lot of injuries. It's just next man in. Somebody's got to fill the hole.
You almost got the sense that Mike was tired of the conversation,
right?
Because you know, like we talked about this 2 days ago about a different guy, and then 2 days before that about a different guy. And I think with Jason Mott going down as well, the Cardinal closer, we've already mentioned Carpenter and Furcal and Mott and Beltran and Freese. That's a pretty big part of your team, and yet there's still pretty much a quiet confidence about the Cardinal Ball Club that I think defines the organization.
Well, so much history in St. Louis. You know, so many World Series, so many playoffs that why wouldn't you? You know, you walk into that clubhouse and I'm sure you look around and all the pennants and the rings that you have alone. You took out a bag of rings about 5 pounds.
I'd still like that one you got on your finger, but
you're not getting it.
I had my chance.
Carroll draws a 6-pitch walk, and that'll bring up Mauer. Twins made some cuts today. They optioned Drew Butera to their minor league system, and also reassigned 4 other players. The Twins right now, the way the roster is set up, they have just 2 catchers, Mauer and Ryan Domit, who will be in the lineup a lot as a designated hitter. But as recently as Saturday, we were wondering on the air whether the Twins were going to go with 2 or 3 catchers. That decision might even have been made Saturday, but it wasn't made formal until today. They will go with just the 2 catchers to start the year, as they did last year.
Wow, you still have a week left, Dick, too. You know, it's not like Drew Butera got sent down and he got to stay there. So, you know, there's still a week left of maybe some decisions to be made.
And I imagine that's an American League dilemma that you guys face year in and year out, is what do you do with your backup catcher if he's a guy you want in the lineup as a DH, and you don't want to lose the DH, and if it's a guy like Domit who has the ability to drive the ball, we've seen him quite a bit in the National League, you know, you play him, now you're kind of stuck.
Right. 1-1 to Mauer. Within the decision to carry just 2 catchers was the premise that Mauer is going to be capable of catching more this year than he did last year. And that would mean less time behind the plate for Ryan Domit. But again, Domit, you know, he's a perfect American League player because he can DH, he can catch, he can play some in the outfield. 1-2 to Mauer.
I think Gardy still would like to carry 3 catchers. Only the fact of, what if there's going to be some games that are going to be blown out where you would like to maybe give Mauer, you know, 2 or 3 innings off rather than having to catch 9 if Domit's DHing, or, you know, now if Domit has to go behind the plate, now who's going to be your backup catcher?
2-2 to Mauer. Carroll at first, 1 away.
That's one of the problems of carrying 13 pitchers or 12 pitchers even.
Twins have said they prefer to carry 12 pitchers. And Mauer lifts it foul and out of play. The bench right now, as it's constructed for the Twins, and as Bert mentioned, there's a week left. Some changes can be made, but everybody, I think, knows who the regular players are with the announcement yesterday of Aaron Hicks being the starting center fielder. It's Willingham, Hicks, and Parmalee in the outfield. Plouffe, Florimone, Dozier, Morneau in the infield, Mauer behind the plate, and Domit the designated hitter. The bench players would be Mastroianni, Wilkin Ramirez, Jamie Carroll, and Eduardo Escobar. So that's how the position player roster looks right now. And Carroll checked it first.
And as you mentioned, Bert, a lot of times there are changes these last 6 days of spring training where all of a sudden a guy that you thought might get a chance with a club doesn't, and then club finds him available. It just happened with the Cardinals. They sent out Ronnie Cedeno, who did not make this club and was a guy that was brought over as insurance for Furcal, but Pete Kozma has beat him out. Now all of a sudden he's the starting shortstop for the Houston Astros, and a good spin for him, and there may be deals like that ahead for both of these teams.
Well, the Angels just sent Vernon Wells over to the Yankees. I mean, a big contract, and they're still negotiating that as far as I know, but if he passes his physical, Yankees today. How'd you like to be a young kid trying to make that 4th or 5th spot in the Brewers organization? Then they go out and sign Kyle Loesch. So
exactly.
It's the game. You try to leave camp with the best 25.
Full count to Mauer, and Carroll takes off. And Mauer dumps it to left. Got fooled on a pitch. Carroll off with the pitch will gain third base. And vintage Joe Mauer, we mentioned a moment ago, he's in mid-season form. Not many hitters can do what he just did, and that's how you win 3 batting titles.
Not a bad pitch location either, but you mentioned Mauer just born to hit. This pitch down and away, and you got to be a good hitter to hit that ball solidly enough to get a good result.
As a former pitcher, both of us, you look at that pitch right there, you expect a ground ball. You don't expect the hitter to, like Mauer, just to kind of hit it softly in the left field. Unbelievable the way that Mauer handles that bat.
Here's Willingham in left field batting cleanup, where we expect to see him next week when the real season starts. And that's to the backstop. Carroll's going to try to score, and he will. The throw back to the mound, and Mauer advances to second. So Miller walked Carroll, was in danger of walking Mauer, and now he uncorks a wild pitch.
Tony Cruz behind the plate for the Cardinals today. Looked like he may have been crossed up a bit on that. He didn't have a comfortable look at this pitch. It's in the dirt. Really not much of a chance. He just tried to backhand it, but it kind of was not, I think, the location he was looking for from Miller, and maybe not crossed up on pitch selection so much as location.
Yeah, a lot of times you like that catcher to jump out there and utilize his body as chest protector to try to knock that down.
Outside, 2-0. Well, you mentioned it before, Rick, that, Miller's in pretty good position here to go north with the club and round out the Cardinal rotation, unless he, my phrase, not yours, falls on his face. And
right.
I don't know that he could do anything worse than not throw strikes.
Well, I think that's the key. You want to see a guy react well when things don't go well, too. I think that's another sign of a guy being a big leaguer when you're young and talented, is how do you handle adversity.
Popped up near the Cardinal dugout. The wind will push that off the roof.
And with our conversation with Mike Matheny, I think we realize that, he's tentative about saying anything right now with all the injuries. Cardinal pitching coach Derek Lilliquist has got his eyes on Miller, and he's done an outstanding job taking over for one of the greatest pitching coaches that I've been around, and just
Dave Duncan.
So well respected in Dave Duncan.
You had Dave Duncan as a pitching coach, didn't you?
Actually, he was our bullpen coach. He started with the Cleveland Indians as a bullpen catcher, and then became a pitching coach with Tony La Russa, I believe, in Oakland. That's where they hooked up. Yeah, Dave Duncan, great man, and he fixed so many pitchers.
2-1
Not
to
only
Willingham.
the physical part, but the mental part too.
Hit hard to center, and retreating is Robinson. Mauer sets up to tag. And a fly ball deep enough to send Mauer to third base.
Really impressed with that at bat from Willingham. He's become a power force in the middle of this lineup, hasn't he? You saw him early in his career with Florida, and you thought he was a good player, but he's a lot more than that.
Well, he went to Oakland, and kind of took off from there. Over the last couple of years, 64 home runs, 35 last year for Willingham, and he drove in 110 runs. So you look at the Twins lineup with Hicks and Dozier and Mauer, and then Willingham. He's got a chance to pick up a lot of RBIs throughout the summer. And what he doesn't pick up, this guy hopefully will, Justin Morneau.
Morneau healthy. He's hitting 5th in the lineup, as he is expected to hit during the season, nearly to the backside.
Yeah, I'm surprised that palm tree is still standing. You know, a line drive home run yesterday off of the second palm tree in that hit it solid.
In Willingham's case, he's the first guy to come to the Twins since they moved outdoors that has made the ballpark Target Field seem small. Everyone else, whether it's the current roster or guys like Delman Young, they were all kind of intimidated by the dimensions and the way the ball carried there.
Yeah, on the visitor side, Jose Batista kind of liked our ballpark.
I hear you guys are not throwing the right pitch to him.
No.
Fouled back to the screen. And for the first time, fans, viewers in the upper Midwest know this already. The Twins are opening 1 week from today, opening the season at home for the first time since they moved back outdoors. And the weather forecast, partly cloudy in mid-40s.
And the Cardinals are?
Cardinals will be in Arizona on April 1st. Looking forward to that. Adam Wainwright getting the start in Game 1. And really the rest of the Cardinals rotation is pretty well set. Again, the 5th spot we're talking about, but we haven't really been clued in on an order yet, too. So that'll be interesting to see who starts the home opener and how they work their rotation towards that. I wouldn't expect that you'd want to see a young guy do the home opener. And if Trevor Miller is indeed the 5th
Someone
starter,
like maybe a Jake Westbrook.
be the perfect choice.
That's in a tongue, but it's foul, 2-2.
Watch out, palm trees.
And Morneau hit a foul ball like that yesterday, 2 pitches before he did this, and kept it in play. And hit off one of the palm trees out there. So now 2-2. We've got a 1-1 game. Mauer's at third, 2 away. Checked his swing. Did he? And ball 3. So Morneau has a full count, and Doman will hit next.
And just what both managers don't want to see, high pitch innings from their starting pitchers, both of them.
Yeah, 25 pitches used by Pelfrey, and here 25 by Miller.
13 balls, 12 strikes for the 22-year-old. At the knees. Pitch number 26, maybe the best of the inning for Shelby Miller. He strands Mauer at third, gives up the tying run. It's 1 apiece. Short sleeve pullover on next Monday at Target Field. Now you never know. Ron Gardenhire hoping that the Twins can get off to a good start this year. That's been one of the problems the last couple of years, just a very poor first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, well, you know, Ricky, you were talking about all the injuries in spring training the last 2 years. Ron Gardenhire's had to deal with that during the season. So many key players going down.
You know, you look at the full body of work for him, though. I mean, a lot of winning seasons the last 12 years in Minnesota, and he's just really done a great job. A lot of playoff games, and I think he deserves a lot of credit and is highly respected throughout baseball.
Adrian Chambers leading off the second. First pitch foul back, then Tony Cruz and Shelby Miller.
Yeah, there's the overall record for Ron Gardenhire. Will be starting his 12th season as manager, taking over for Tom Kelly back in 2002.
Ooh. Smashed against the screen in front of the Twins dugout.
Adrian Chambers, a very interesting player. He has some ability as he fouls this one off, and you better be ready.
Oh, wow.
Head's always on a swivel, isn't it? Chambers has speed. He can play all outfield positions. Has a bit more of a plus arm than was advertised, and he's hit okay this spring training. He's in a battle for one of those extra outfield spots, and really a very, very likable young man.
2 strikes, and pitch at the letters fouled back to the backstop. There's Rick Anderson hoping that Pelfrey can have a tidier first inning. He kind of gave his pitching staff, not just Pelfrey or Correa, the relievers too, a little bit of a, I don't even want to call it a pep talk. This kind of blistered them a little bit, saying, hey, come on, it's the last week of spring training. Let's get going. Let's get after it. There's a breaking ball missing. So my question to you two guys is, how important are these last starts or last appearances if you're a relief pitcher in the month of March?
Well, more the starter, more for Pelfrey to go out and at least pitch 4 or 5 innings. In his last start at AAA ball game, he went 5 innings, did give up 3 runs, but you can't have 25 pitch innings. You have to trust your defense, get that ball over the plate.
Loof kind of sidearmed it across, a little tail on the throw. Morneau with a stretch, 1 away.
Well, it's awful tough to say that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Oh, now it counts. I mean, you got to turn the light on at some point as a player and realize that, okay, I'm working on something, trying to get myself ready, but the reality is it's a game of results, and you want to build on those results. You want to start getting them so when the games do start to count, you're not kind of searching for that little mojo. You've got it well in hand.
Yeah, they always say, well, you know, here's fly ball to Mastroeni in center field for the second out. That's what you want. Quick outs. That coming off the bat of Tony Cruz. But you just can't, that bell's going to ring on April 1st. You just can't turn that switch on and say, okay, I'm ready, I'm 100%.
The pitcher, Miller, will hit with 2 gone in the second inning. Bert, you touched on it. I think that's been one of the frustrations for the Twins with Pelfrey and Correa the other day. They're pitch to contact pitchers, and you can save your bullpen an awful lot of extra work if you can have contact made, the ball put in play on the 3rd pitch rather than the 6th pitch.
Absolutely. So hopefully, you know, they can accomplish that here in the last couple starts. Pelfrey will have 1 more start before the season opens up.
2 strikes. And this will be a luxury that Pelfrey will have to adjust to not having, and that is having a pitcher hitting 9th in the batting order. He's spent his entire career in the National League, but now we'll try to face 9 hitters in the American League on the outside corner. Sharpening his control a little bit in the second inning. Pelfrey has a 1-2-3. On April Fool's Day, check out the seats that are still available all season long. Twins single game tickets remain available and are very affordable, starting at just $8. Special deals are available for every day of the week. You can check those deals out at twinsbaseball.com or call 1-800-33-TWINS. Again, the forecast for Monday, Partly cloudy and high temperatures in the mid-60s. Back at Hammond Stadium in Fort Myers, Shelby Miller will face Ryan Domit, Chris Parmalee, and Trevor Plouffe.
Yeah, too many pitches in that first inning for the young 22-year-old. Ricky, when you look at Miller, you see a good fastball. I thought in that first inning, what I saw, that curveball, he's trying to overthrow it a little bit, but you know, as you started to at the major league level, you get through the first couple innings, then you settle down a little bit. You get excited about a start, but then adrenaline's so high, now it calms down.
Especially for young guys, he'll be hoping to do exactly what Pelfrey did in his second inning of work, get kind of under control. One thing that the Cardinals are saying about Miller is he's tightened up his delivery a little bit, so he's not way out of kilter. He kind of staying back over the rubber just a tad longer, and I think his delivery is really kind of conducive to having good control. There's nothing wild about his delivery, and sometimes you just, as you say, have to calm the emotions a bit.
First pitch strike to Domit. And another one, Anthony's 0-2.
Compact type pitcher, Miller.
He's a free, easy heat, isn't he? Not like an over-effort guy, just nice and smooth, and the ball just jumps out of his hand.
Checked his swing, 1-2.
I like his extension, the way that his right leg comes over his left leg. Not a high leg kick, but watch that right leg come over and through. I always think of Brad Radke, you know, always able to reach out and try to get that, almost put your hand into the catcher's glove by really having a good follow through. No recoil, not put extra pressure on that shoulder. Allow your arm to come through your body.
Fastball off the plate, clocked at 91. Is that about where Miller usually sits?
A little lower. He can get up to 94, 95 at times.
Domit spanks it into right field for a base hit. Caught up with a 93-mile-per-hour fastball for a leadoff single.
You know, it's fun to sit up here and second guess. But right there, to me, that's a situation. Miller's got to try that curveball right there. 1-2 count. Comes back with another fastball. You can see a little bit of tail on that pitch coming right back over the plate, where Cruz, I think he wanted that ball inside.
Cardinal fans are used to seeing Ryan Domit hit the Cardinals too. He's very, very good fastball hitter, and that's what he got. One out over the plate. And again, I guess that location was meant to be inside, and he might have missed there as well. But curveball is still a bit of a kind of a learning curve for Miller. But again, he's got the right stuff. It's just a matter of the experience.
And Parmalee hooks a fastball into right field. Domit will check in at second base.
Yeah, I say that, Ricky, only because if you're having trouble with a pitch, he overthrew a lot of curveballs in that first inning. No better time to do it in spring training on a 1-2 pitch when you're ahead in the count. If you miss, you're still 2-2.
And no better person on the planet to talk about when to throw a curveball than Bert Blyleven, in my mind. I mean, and obviously that was your bread and butter pitch, and I should say for Cardinal fans viewing today's telecast that we as an organization congratulate you on your Hall of Fame selection.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Very well deserved, and I remember that curveball, unhittable. I saw it. I had to see it in situations I wish I wasn't seeing it. So, but congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor. I get to play a kid's game for a lot of years, and now I get to play up here. I get to play with Dick every day up here. A kid's game.
And you're still pretty much one of those kids, aren't you, from what I understand?
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
You know, he always talks about, you know, you should throw the curveball here, the curveball there. There hasn't been anybody who's had a curveball like him.
If I had his, I'd throw it there. Exactly.
No, but everything, to me, everything keys off the fastball. Miller has a good fastball. He got ahead of Domit, 1 ball, 2 strikes on fastballs.
Right.
Okay, so now work on that pitch, because I learned from Gaylord Perry when I got traded to the Texas Rangers of working in pitches that maybe you didn't have an inning. When you get ahead in the count, work on that pitch that isn't working. Guess what? A couple of your innings later, you're going to have that pitch.
Don't forget about it.
Don't put it in your back pocket. Right. You have to throw it.
You learn anything else from Gaylord Perry?
A lot, yes.
What are you insinuating?
If the ball was scuffed, use it.
Don't throw it out.
2-1 to Plouffe. Plouffe playing on an everyday basis for the Twins. He had a calf injury and then a re-injury, but looks like the graph line is promising enough for Plouffe in terms of his recovery from that. He'll be the starting third baseman a week from today. 2-1 from Miller to Plouffe. Bounce to the right side. Nice pickup by Adams. And a double play. Very nicely started by Mike Adams, who went far to his right and was actually running parallel with Parmalee toward second base.
Well, your responsibility as a pitcher on this play is to get over there and become the first baseman. Adam makes a very nice play. Adams going to his right. Nice feed over to short, and then a quick relay throw to complete the double play. Nicely turned.
Always a harder play for pitchers than people realize, because you are running in one direction and you on a dime have to turn around, and a lot of times that throw is already on its way by the time you get to the bag, especially if you're not exactly a fast runner getting over there. But Miller did a nice job of going right to the bag quickly.
Here's Eduardo Escobar, and he slices it foul. Now, Minnesota viewers have been told for 19 years now that pitchers are the best athletes on the team.
Darn right.
Well, I'm not going to dispel that rumor. Of course they are.
It's not a rumor.
All the pitchers were the shortstops, right? The
That's
pitchers
right.
were the shortstops in high school, the best. Yeah, exactly.
Well, most of us were.
One strike to Escobar, hitting ninth and playing shortstop.
I was a right fielder myself.
And another foul, 2 strikes. Escobar playing for Pedro Florimon, who figures to be the starting shortstop for the Twins a week from today. And Escobar, kind of a younger version of Jamie Carroll. Can play all 3 infield positions other than first base. And Escobar is probably the emergency backup catcher on the roster as it stands right now. Jeff Clement was with the club, but he was one of the players sent down today. So as the roster is constituted right now, if the Twins need an emergency catcher, it would be the utility player Eduardo Escobar.
Now here again, a count. I don't mean to cut you off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. See what he throws here to Escobar, hitting in that number 9 spot in the lineup. He missed with a fastball in. Looks like Cruz going back inside with another fastball.
Clocked here at 94 miles per hour.
Now his changeup, does he throw a circle changeup? Is it just something that he tries to just take off the fastball?
Well, he's still developing that, and I think his changeup, again, you're not going to need it when you're in low A ball throwing 95 miles an hour. So I think he's still experimenting with the right grip as he is with the curveball.
There's the curveball right there.
And just casting that pitch, as we like to say, where you're not really getting your fingers on top and pulling it down. And casting's the word. It just kind of flips out, stays high, never really gets pulled down at the right release. Everything flies open, and it just becomes flat.
On the ground sharply to Adams.
Better one there.
Yes.
And Miller survives the second inning after giving up a couple of hits to start the inning. Fans here in Fort Myers, Florida. We got a tie game going to the third inning. Bert Blyleven has left the booth. He'll be giving us some interviews from the Twins dugout here shortly. Dick Bramer and Ricky Horton, with Daniel Descalzo leading things off for the St. Louis Cardinals. Hit a fly ball to center to start the ball game, facing Mike Pelfrey. Breaking ball, missing ball one. Ricky, it is amazing. Pelfrey trying to come back from Tommy John surgery that he underwent in May of last year. And they say that he is where he is now, and we don't know how his numbers are going to look by season's end, but he is where he is now simply with an incredible and unrelenting work ethic. He doesn't take days off. He's just constantly rehabbing and working hard to try to be ready for the opening week of the season.
Well, that rehab can be painful. It can be painfully slow. It can be frustrating. Ken Daly was a former roommate of mine and was actually involved in that '87 World Series between the Cardinals and Minnesota. And Ken actually is on record as the guy who came back quickest from Tommy John's. In fact, it was amazing how fast he came back, and he just really was throwing within, I want to say it was 8 or 9 months, and he basically just decided he was going to kind of jump the gun on all of the rehab that you're supposed to and do it before Dr. Jobe would allow him. And Dr. Jobe had always said, marveled at the way Ken Daly came back, did not suggest others do it, but the proof was in the pudding. Ken came back throwing 95 miles an hour, throwing harder than he did before.
Then you have the discussion, too, you know, is it easier for a relief pitcher to come back than a starter?
Could be.
Here's Shane Robinson. Chopper left side. Escobar backhands it. Rifles its throw just in time to get the speedy Robinson 2 down.
I was just about ready to say Escobar better hurry, and he didn't hurry with his body, but he sure did hurry that ball over there. That's a strong arm from deep in the hole.
And this is the first extended look the Twins had gotten from Escobar. He came over in a midseason trade, and the Twins really hadn't seen much of him. And so I think he has really benefited from having a good spring training. The first time the Twins field staff has had a chance to see him on a daily basis. And it's not just the games. It's, you know, hitting fungos and how does a guy react to ground balls at the 3 different positions. But he's had a really good spring training, and his stock has risen because of it. 1 strike to Carpenter.
Fun to watch shortstops play, too. And you know, I love the game of baseball, and every player, of course, matters on the field. But there's something unique about the athleticism of a shortstop and what they can do, plays their ass to make and throws their ass to make. That's just, I think they're a little more artistic in the way they go about their business, and just fun to watch.
Couple of good innings for Mike Pelfrey. He's retired 7 men in a row, and he finishes the third as he did the second with a called third strike. Twins season ticket family in 2013, you'll be hitting the sweet spot. Purchase any of the Twins season ticket packages and receive 10% off all food, beverage, and merchandise bought at Target Field. Call 833 Twins or visit twinsbaseball.com to check out the options and learn about the cool benefits that come along with Twins season tickets. There's a sign you will not see on Lake Minnetonka. We head to the bottom of the third inning in a tie ball game. Dick Bramer, Ricky Hart, Bert Blyleven's down in the Twins dugout. You'll hear from him shortly. And the Twins will send up Darren Mastroianni, Jamie Carroll, and Joe Mauer. If not a sellout crowd, near sellout crowd here today. Mastroianni takes inside. A few days ago, the Yankees came here, brought kind of a skeleton team down here, and set a Hammond Stadium record for a spring training appearance, spring training game. Down and away, 2-0.
We talk to people who come down for spring training games. You're not going to find any of them that say this isn't one of their highlights of their year. There's something about seeing games in Florida or in Arizona, for that matter, in spring training games. It's just you get a chance to see players a little bit different way in spring, and very, very fun experience. It's worth the effort.
Wigginton with throw across, one down. Let's go down to the Twins dugout. Bert Blyleven has a very, very special guest.
Hey, guys, I know you missed me up in the booth, but I'm down in the dugout now with Glenn Perkins. Perk, a little bit about the WBC. You had 3 outings there. What did you think about the WBC?
You know, it was fun. The intensity, things like that in spring training. You know, it's not something that you're used to, but it had a good time and a lot of good guys. And, you know, we didn't have the success that we wanted, but, you know, it was still a great experience and, you know, something that I'll remember for a long time.
Now, the season is a week away. You're going to be the closer this year for the Twins. Going into the last couple of years, you're kind of like 7th, 8th inning guy. How do you get yourself ready to be the closer for the Twins? And are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I think what I'll do, I'll probably just waste a little more time before the game starts. I got a little extra time to wait until I pitch. So, no, you know what? It's the same thing. It's still an inning. It's getting 3 guys out and you know, focusing on each appearance and making sure that I do a good job. It's exciting, and the adrenaline that's going to come with pitching at the end of the game is something I'm looking forward to.
Now, over the years, you've got an opportunity to watch Joe Nathan close a lot of ball games, Matt Capps, also guys that have had success at the major league level. Did you learn anything from them going to be the closer?
You know, I got to watch how Joe prepared, and I think that's going to be big for me, just seeing that when he was down in the bullpen and kind of a timeline type of thing where he would start getting himself mentally ready and then physically prepared to go into the game. And, you know, it's just that kind of thing where, you know, you do certain things in the 7th, you do certain things in the 8th, you play catch, you get yourself ready and make sure that when the phone rings that it's not going to take you too long and just get yourself in a mindset where you can go out there and have success.
They always say closers have to be able to just forget about what happened yesterday. You know, you have a bad outing, something doesn't work out. You're out there the next day. You probably want the ball as quick as possible, don't you?
Yeah. You know, and even last year at the end, I blew a save in Toronto and gave up a home run. And when I got done with that inning, I just came in and told Andy, I said, I need to get back out there. I got to forget that one. And, you know, it's you do have to have a short memory. And you know, I talked to Eddie a lot about that this spring, and he just said, you know, you have to understand that you're going to have bad games. And everybody does, and that, you know, as long as you have more success than failure, you're going to be successful, and you just have to take your lumps when you get them and move on, and, you know, I think it's something that I'm prepared to do.
Now, being a closer, what you have is guys getting to that spot, getting you to that spot to save a ball game. You got some pretty good arms out there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously Bert, you know, had a great year last year, and I think we're excited to see him again, and Dunsing down there with the lefty-righty, and, you know, I think there's some more guys. There's, you know, Renicky Wood was doing well, and he got a little tender, so, you know, we'll see, but there's some arms down there. I think that, you know, if the starters can get us through the 6th, 7th inning, that we'll be able to take the ball and you know, hopefully hold the lead and win some games.
Now, with the season going to be a week away, have you had an opportunity to get into that ball game in a save situation yet?
No, I think that I pitched the other day in the 7th, so that was the latest I pitched. But you know, I don't really know if you can recreate it down here. You know, it doesn't have the same feel, so it'll be the kind of thing that you know, I'll get out there and go with it, and, you know, maybe pitching in the pressure and the you know, the intensity of the World Baseball will help me with that. Just taking that extra step to being ready for the season.
Well, I got a call. 40 saves for Glenn Perkins this year. Will you take 40?
I'll that's a good starting point.
Okay,
Hopefully there'll be a few more.
Guys, Glenn Perkins, a new closer and save master for the Minnesota Twins. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Glenn, and thank you, Bert. The Eddie that Glenn references, Eddie Guardado, who was brought into camp this year as a part-time instructor during spring training. And you tend to forget this, that last year Matt Capps started the year as the closer, And in fact, by season's end, Perkins had 16 saves and Capps had 14. So this will be the first full year that Glenn Perkins has the duty of closing out games for the Twins. 1-1 to Mauer. Carroll's drawn his second walk, and they're now 2-1. And Carroll got a great read, but is thrown out. Nice recovery by Tony Cruz. He blocked most of that pitch in the dirt and came up firing and threw a strike.
Well, Carroll does exactly what you're supposed to do. You see the ball in the dirt, you take off. You see it as an opportunity, but Cruz keeps the ball in front of him perfectly. There's Carroll, gets a good read, but very quick to the ball is Tony Cruz, and the throw right on the money. You can't fault Jamie Carroll there. You just got to give some credit to a very alert Tony Cruz.
2-1 to Mauer, now with 2 out and the base is empty. 3-1.
I love the conversation with Perkins and Bird about that short memory part of the game, and all athletes need to deal with that. Jose Oquendo was talking about Matt Carpenter, the Cardinal second baseman of the future, and he asked him, what's the most important play a second baseman has to make? And he kept quizzing him on it. He never really got an answer, and he finally said the answer is the play after you make an error.
Yeah.
And he said honestly, that's the most important play that you're going to have to learn how to make, and to feel comfortable that you're going to fail in this game. Even if you're somebody like Joe Mauer, even he doesn't get a hit every time up. Seems like it.
Here's how good Bert's short-term memory is. He's just asking Glenn Perkins the same questions he asked 2-3 minutes ago. He's already forgotten the answer. Roller up the middle and a base hit for Mauer.
Hitting machine.
And so Mauer has 2 more hits today. And that'll bring up Willingham with a man aboard.
Already seeing an example of what makes Joe Mauer Joe Mauer. The really good hitters find holes. Nice to see Paul Molitor here today, and he coaching with the Twins, and really just a good baseball man and a friend for a very long time. And he was that same kind of guy that it wouldn't matter whether he hit it hard or soft. Right. It was always a hit. Tony Gwynn was like that. Good hitters find holes.
Here's Willingham in a fly ball to center his first time up. I don't know that I've seen any hitter for the Twins or anybody else that's better with 2 strikes than Joe Mauer. He has a couple of 2-strike hits here in the ball game today. You were talking about Jose Oquendo and infielders, and Escobar made a nice play in the top half of this inning. Sometimes you can tell it from up here, and I know you can on the mound. There are infielders that just look like they want the ball hit to them.
You see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're talking earlier, Bert was mentioning that, Pelfrey maybe being a little tentative as a pitcher, trying to figure out coming back after the injury. The catcher has to read his eyes. But players on the field, there's another sense of, is this guy tentative? Is this guy comfortable? Is he courageous? Is he wanting the ball? And, you want guys in the infield behind you that want the ball, and I was fortunate enough to have a guy named Ozzie Smith that may have been the quintessential guy in that regard, that starred for the Cardinals and Hall of Famer. But Jose Oquendo, I know he teaches that. He wants that. You've got to want the ball to be hit to you. If you don't, then you're always battling uphill.
Even after you make an error.
Exactly right.
Yeah. 2-1 to Willingham. Twins have bunched them. Well, they haven't bunched them together well enough to score more than 1 run, but they do have 4 hits and a couple of walks against Miller. Here's a rocket off the shin of Wigginton. Mauer will go to second. So Willingham smokes one with some topspin on it. Wigginton put the glove down, but I don't think that's what it hit.
Okay, so you want a ball hit to you, but I don't mean this. Not like that. You might change your mind if the guy's going to be hitting the ball that hard. Look at the power of Willingham. And he hits that ball right on the screws. Really, that's just kind of a hope play for Cardinal third baseman Wigginton.
Here's Morneau, called out on strikes. Left a man aboard in the first inning. Viewers in the upper Midwest know the story of Morneau. Maybe those in the St. Louis area don't know the background, but Morneau a year ago was contemplating retirement if he had any reoccurrence of concussion symptoms, but he's had no statements to that effect and no symptoms similar to that. He was able to go through his regular off-season workout, which included a lot of cardio work and a lot of weightlifting, which he was unable to do a year ago. So to use the term that Ron Gardenhire used the other day, there's a night and day difference between where Justin Morneau is as he approaches the 2013 season and where he was a year ago.
And really happy about that. A talented player. You'd hate to see his career cut short because of an injury. Cardinals have a bullpen catcher, Jamie Pogue, who was born in Canada, and he sought out Morneau before the game today just to kind of congratulate him on being back playing and being 100%. And they evidently were teammates on a Team Canada team when they were younger. And he's a big Morneau fan and happy to see him playing.
3-1 now to Morneau. And of course, the Cardinal catcher, Mike Matheny, knows all about concussions, too.
He does.
It's pretty much the final straw for him in terms of ending his playing days. Across the way here over in Boston's camp, Stephen Drew just got a glancing blow in the helmet in a game against the Twins, but he's not played since. There's a high fly to left field. Adrian Chambers comes in, and the inning ends. The Twins get a couple of hits and a walk, but no damage done in the third against Shelby Miller. Guys here in Fort Myers, and we know that the folks in the upper Midwest and in the St. Louis area dealing with a cruel taste of winter in late March. What a foot of snow in St. Louis yesterday, I guess. My sister lives in central Missouri. She was reporting 9 inches of snow in the Fulton area.
And we've been told many times the last couple of days they don't want to hear about how we are experiencing 20-mile-an-hour winds. That's not really cutting it.
Yeah, I learned long ago not to complain about overcast skies when you're down here. Matt Adams will lead things off against Mike Pelfrey, who's done a nice job after giving up 3 hits in the first inning. He's retired 7 men in a row. Nothing's really been hit hard, and he's done a lot of that, hitting the corners, which what Pelfrey needs to do if he's going to be effective.
Well, Pelfrey's been a guy that in the Mets system highly regarded. They thought he would be a frontline pitcher. Of course, the injury, a bit of a derailment for his career, but certainly get an opportunity again with Minnesota in 2013. And, you know, he's got some upside to him. He really does. And he is certainly showing good signs here in the last 2+ innings. And be facing Adams, Taveras, and Wigginton here in the Cardinal fourth.
Fouled back. Pelfrey made quite a first impression on his new teammates here with the Twins. I got down here about a week and a half after camp opened, and everybody was just raving about what a great teammate he is and what a great influence he's been on some of the younger pitchers that the Twins are trying to develop through their system. He's 29 years old. And one of the interesting perspectives he can give a Liam Hendricks or someone like that is he, because of the injuries, had the game taken away from him. And sometimes you need somebody like that on the staff. I know Chris Carpenter had that on the Cardinal staff. You don't appreciate maybe what you have until it is taken away from you.
Cal Eldred's another good example of that. Actually, a very good friend of Mike Matheny, who's now working as a coach. Actually was at home, hadn't played for a year, and Mike Matheny convinced the Cardinals to give him a tryout. Came back and was a part of the Cardinals bullpen and had so much to say to young players.
Right.
And, you know, if you're not a good teammate and you're a journeyman player, basically they're going to call you an ex-player pretty soon, because you need to be a good teammate if you're just kind of trying to hang around. And, you know, it's a long season together with 25 other guys, and you really need people around that are going to help build each other up.
Pelfrey fills the count to Adams. Taveras will hit next. Got him to chase a fastball tailing away. And Pelfrey gets a strikeout, 8 in a row, set down by the right-hander.
Very tentative approach to this swing for Adams, and I'm not sure he's looking for something different, and he's just a little tardy on that fastball. Might have thought it was out of the zone. Pelfrey hits his spot, maybe just off the plate, too close to take, and just waved right through it. Pitch count going down from that long first inning.
Breaking ball. Snaps over for strike one.
In a groove, isn't he?
Well, as ragged as you might have your appearances look early on in March, this is the time, the last start or the next to last start, another breaking pitch over, where you want to have your command and your control, and you want to be able to hit your spots. And it looks like that's what we've seen Pelfrey accomplish here in the last couple innings.
No question. And you want to get it certainly by the end of March. You don't want to be fiddling around with it in early April and get your team off to a bad start. And there's a dead-on fastball right on the inside corner, again hitting his spots against a pretty good young hitter.
Hey, I'm back, guys.
You were gone?
They're going to open my mic here. You know what? I have to do that more often. I had a beer and a hot dog.
No, did you?
Oh, it's awesome.
Notice you didn't bring any up here for us.
Oh, heck no. I drank it outside here.
I knew you were smiling when you came in. I wasn't sure why that was.
I'm always smiling.
I thought you really liked your interview or something.
Swing and a miss by Wigginton.
Which we did, by the way. Enjoyed hearing from the closer. Enjoyed your questions. Had a lot to chat about that. But you had a pit stop on the way, you said.
Well, on the way back, yes.
Yeah.
I can't do it on the way that way.
No.
Down on the dirt, 1-1.
Like the way you guys operate.
There's another breaking pitch over.
You see Cardinal hitters are starting to get a little defensive, and they're guessing wrong. They're not. They're maybe a step behind, and Pelfrey's kind of got everybody confused at the plate, and it comes from him hitting his spots, making quality pitches.
Fastball, Wigginton waiting for it, and he lashes it to center field.
Well, that's a pitch right there. I think he wanted in a little bit more, and he left it out. And, you know, credit the batter in making good contact. Watch Mauer. We always watch the catcher. Watch Joe Mauer. Looks like he wants it down and away. The ball came riding back into that swing zone.
And it'll bring up Adrian Chambers.
Met a gentleman here at the ballpark who is a part of the Pensacola Training Academy, who had a story for me about Adrian Chambers, who spent all winter helping them to develop fields for youth in a really tough part of Pensacola, which is where Adrian came up and grew up, and he had nothing but good things to say. Part of the RBI program that's part of Major League Baseball initiative to revive baseball in the inner city. And Chambers didn't just kind of contribute to it. He said he was there every day helping kids, and he's going to name a field after him in his hometown of Pensacola. So
Very nice.
Nothing but positive things to say about Adrian Chambers. He's really, guys, just a delightful young man, and just, you know, wonder whether he's going to stick or not and how long he'll be in the big leagues, but sure rooting for him.
Well, those are great stories. You know, there's so many athletes that give back that sometimes do not get the recognition of some other bigger namesake.
And he's not doing it as a star player yet, as a guy that's kind of got it on a, you know, as part of some deal or the club. I mean, he's doing that on his own. And he, from being from that area, he talks often about just how difficult the environment is. And there's some real issues going on in his hometown area in Pensacola, and he wants to make a difference, and he wants to help out kids that need to get a little more hope.
Bonatep rolls foul. It's 2-2.
Good for him.
We're tied at 1 here, top of the 4th inning. Pelfrey with a couple of strikeouts to start the inning, and then a 2-strike pitch to Wigginton, line to center for a single.
It's such a tough area to get to, the big leagues. You know, you look at Chambers' last couple of years up and down with the Cardinals. You know, you taste success and then you have to go back down, you're back up. You're looking for that consistency. How do I make myself better where I can stay with that ball?
And what you don't want to do is go down there and try to maybe doubt that I'm good enough and start to maybe do a complete overhaul. Man, that's probably not what is necessary. Maybe an adjustment. Maybe you want to get a little stronger, work on defense, maybe another position. But I think guys have to go back with that right attitude of confidence that I belong here and I'll get back here eventually.
Lifted to deep right field. Chasing it is Parmalee. Gets there on the edge of the warning track. Nice running catch and a good angle taken by Chris Parmalee to end the 4th inning. And bottom line, a good inning for Mike Pelfrey. He's given up just 1 run over 4 innings. Season starts just a week from now, and you can plan your group outing at Target Field this year. Organize your business, church, school, or maybe just a couple of dozen of your close pals. Make a game of it. Call 800-33-TWINS. Visit twinsbaseball.com to check out the options, learn about the cool benefits that group organizers will receive in 2013. The season fast approaching, and the Twins are looking forward to a much better 2013. We are tied at 1, moving to the bottom of the 4th inning. Rick Horton's gone down to the Cardinal dugout. We'll hear from him momentarily. Dick Bramer, Bert Blyleven up here in the booth. We're happy to have Don Paint with us here in the booth during the bottom of the 4th inning. Don's the executive director of the Fort Myers Redevelopment Agency, and it's a pretty popular place, has become a pretty popular place for Minnesotans to come down and spend some time and maybe resettle in this area.
It has been. Can't beat the weather, and we've got a beautiful downtown area that we've been redeveloping, so we invite them to come down out of the cold north.
You know, Don, I live here in Fort Myers, and you mentioned to me, you know, the Grahams are our neighbors in Fort Myers here, but downtown, it started probably, 4 or 5 years ago as far as, you know, revamping it and making it a beautiful downtown area now.
That's right. About 4 years ago, we redid what we call the streetscape. All the streets, the lighting, the landscaping, installed brick streets the way they were back in the 1920s, and since then, things have really started to take off, and downtown, what we call the River District, has become a very popular place. And we do get a lot of the Twins fans coming down before and after the game, so we enjoy that.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the River District, because it's not completed yet, but it's almost, I mean, as far as commercial buildings and stuff.
Well, we have done some recent waterfront projects. We put in a new water basin that has walkways around it that brings the river back into town a couple blocks. We have been attracting new businesses in. We've had 40 new businesses, mainly restaurants that have moved in. So we now have over 50 restaurants down there. But our big project is bringing in some new hotels and more restaurants and retail shops. and really expanding the waterfront area, making that a much more fun, exciting place.
And there seem to always be something on weekends downtown now. It seems like people are just hanging out downtown.
Well, we have events going on almost every weekend. We have Art Walk on the first Friday and Music Walk on the third Friday. Every fourth Saturday is a car cruise in, so if you have a hot rod or custom car, you just bring it down, and it's a fun time.
Dick, you have one of those. You have a hot rod, don't you?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You don't have a hot rod?
Well, it could be any car you want to show off. If you think it's worth showing off, you bring it on down.
Well, I got one of those. I just don't have a house.
56 Mercury.
That's 77 Ford Maverick.
All right.
Proud of that.
That's a nice car. You bring it on down one of these Saturdays. But yeah, you're right, Bert. Almost every weekend there's something going on down there, whether it's a block party or an art walk, an art fest. We have constant activities to bring folks down and entertain them.
Is there a way online or a phone number that people to say that are visiting the area that may want to know, hey, what's going on this weekend in downtown Fort Myers?
Sure, there's a couple websites actually. MyRiverDistrict.com has a schedule of activities, and River District Events is another website that lists all the activities that the Merchants Group, what we call the River District Alliance, puts together. And so they can go on either one of those websites and get information, or even the city website, which is cityftmyers.com. And we list the events on there as well.
A couple of short fly balls to left. Domit Parmalee retired. That'll bring up Trevor Plouffe.
I tip my hat to everybody that's in Fort Myers as far as, the River District and what you have done to create more enthusiasm on people not wanting to go down to Naples all the time or Bonita, staying in Fort Myers and seeing the beautiful city.
Well, we've had a lot of support from our city council and our mayor. Mayor Henderson's been a strong supporter. And one of the things we're trying to do is distinguish ourselves from the malls. All of our downtown restaurants and businesses are primarily owner-occupied.
Our thanks to Don Paint, the Executive Director of the Fort Myers Redevelopment Agency. It's 1-2-3, bottom of the fourth. Well, each team had a kind of a wobbly first inning by their starting pitcher, but things have settled down here into more of a pitcher's duel than what we had yesterday. A bunch of singles and a few walks, a 1-1 score to the fifth, and Mike Pelfrey will pitch to Tony Cruz. Then Shelby Miller due up. Daniel Descalzo will hit third. And Miller's in the on-deck circle, so it looks like Mike Matheny's going to send him out for a fifth inning of work.
Well, what you'd like to see from Pelfrey is exactly what we've seen. He struggled a little bit in the first inning, but then he made the adjustment, and now starting his fifth inning of work.
1-1 our score. The Cardinals playing without a lot of the marquee names in the middle of their lineup. Nevertheless, Ricky Horton's downstairs with the hitting coach, John Mabry. Guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You talk about the pitchers settling down here. One guy doesn't like that is the hitting coach, John Mabry, who I know you're a little antsy. You want to see your guys hit right now, don't you?
Yeah, you don't mind if I watch while we do this, do you?
Well, you can talk and watch at the same time, can't you?
Yeah, I can multitask.
Yes, you can.
Good thing he's not chewing
John,
gum.
we're excited that you're getting this opportunity to be a hitting coach at the big league level. I know you've been a Cardinal a long time and being connected to the organization, so congratulations for that. As somebody does the right thing behind us, and it brings a smile to your face. But how would you describe your overall hitting philosophy? What's kind of your mantra that you're going to bring to this team?
We're not going to change anything from what we've had going. These guys do a pretty good job. We got a veteran group that knows what they're doing. So our job is to get them a good game plan and get them to stick to that game plan, and then change. Like today, according to this guy's got into a pretty good groove here. He's using different speeds on his fastball, doubling up on his breaking pitches, which Tony just took advantage of there with the base hit up the middle. But these guys know what they're doing. They're veteran hitters.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can actually break it down while the game's going on here, and you are multitasking. But we were talking earlier about how a lot of this game is mental as well. You've got the physical kind of preparation that guys are doing, but there's a lot that goes on between the ears.
Well, that's the biggest part of this game. What's the yogiism? 90% mental, the rest of it's in your head. So that's the biggest thing, and to keep these guys on the path for 162 is that, if you don't give away any at bats, you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage for that number of bats that you give away. You're not even making the pitcher do anything. So what we try to strive for here is to grind out every at bat that we get. So nice bunt by Shelby. And that's the deal. You grind out at bats, make the pitcher work for everything he gets, and don't give anything away.
Well, you talk about obviously the important guys in this club, middle of the lineup, as Knuckles are given behind me. We are really multitasking here. But you're talking about the important guys in the middle of this lineup, obviously the run producers, but every at-bat does matter. Has it been fun for you to work with some of the younger players, some of the guys that maybe will be role players for this team going forward, and some may go back to AAA, but just to kind of get a chance to analyze their swing a bit?
Well, that's the big thing about spring training, and have everybody together, because you get to see all the minor leaguers and everybody on the backfields, and then you get to see the guys that come up and get a showing. And for example, like today, we get a 3-hour trip, and you'll see some of the younger guys out here getting their shot and getting their chance to make adjustments against a big league pitcher, against a big league lineup. Foul ball. Doing that first pitch changeup. No, it's a great opportunity to work with these guys and make their adjustments, and that's the biggest thing that they're trying to make that next step. And we got a great core of young guys in that 1 through 3 years that are ready to take that next step in the stardom. You got your established superstars with the Holidays and Beltrans and the Yachties, and Kreger and Freezer, and those guys are ready to step up and take the reins.
One of the things we've noticed with this team so far, and clearly there's been a lot of news on the injury front across the organizations, some with pitchers, some with hitters, but I've been really kind of surprised and impressed by the overall sense of confidence that's still maintained in this clubhouse and the organization. Maybe that's attributed to the depth. Maybe it's the attitude of you coaches. I don't know what it is, but do you feel that? Do you sense that same thing?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. The philosophy is next man up, and the next man up takes the job, and you don't worry about the things you don't have. You worry about the things you do have, and put together the game plan for what you do have, and keep moving forward, and hold the ship down until the guys get back who are injured and come back and can help us along the way.
Well, we loved having you in the booth with Fox Sports Midwest. You were tremendous at analyzing. In fact, you're still doing it now as we speak. But really just excited, John, about this season. Looking forward to it. And I assume you would say that the bar is pretty high in terms of what you all expect in the 2013 season.
Well, there's no other expectation in a Cardinal organization to win the World Series. That's what you put the uniform on for. You wear the birds on the bat. You're expected to come out here and compete for a championship. And the fans of St. Louis wouldn't expect anything less, nor the ownership or the players. So we look forward to getting out there and try to achieve that goal.
Well, John, I really appreciate your time. We really appreciate it in the midst of you. I know paying attention to your job. We'll let you get back to that. Good luck the rest of the way, and then appreciate the time.
I appreciate it.
All right, that's John Mabry. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, guys. Descalzo walks to fill first base. Cruz at second. Nice sacrifice bunt by the pitcher, Shelby Miller. And now Shane Robinson will hit with 2 men on and 1 out.
Well, Dick, remember at the beginning, they are letting the pitcher hit. And Miller, with the season starting a week away, he may come into that situation. That's why Mike Raffini is letting, the number 9 hitter be the pitcher to start the ball game. So he laid down a very good bunt.
Robinson singled so far, scored the only Cardinal run so far back in the first inning. Breaking ball missing the inside corner. Ball 1. So Pelfrey, who had a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings, gave up a 2-out hit in the 4th. Now a leadoff single. The out given to the Twins on the bunt, and now a walk. And we'll see if Pelfrey can pitch out of this situation in his 5th inning of work.
Pitcher's best friend, a double play. See if he can get Robertson to hit the ball on the ground. Fastball inside, called a strike to even the count.
1-1. Fouled away 1-2. Pelfrey, when healthy, was able to give the Mets right around 200 innings per year, and that's what the Twins are hoping for this year. I asked Rick Anderson the other day about Pelfrey and coming back. You know, the Twins were very careful with Kyle Gibson, and they will be over the course of this year in his first year back. But with Pelfrey, because he's gone after his rehab so aggressively and hasn't had any issues at all, the Twins don't plan on treating him with kid gloves at all. Unless or until there's an issue, he'll be treated like the elbow never blew out in the first place.
Yeah, there's a good fastball right there, just missing outer half of the plate at 90 miles an hour. So here in the 5th inning, still right around 90, 92. Pelfrey's best year with the Mets came in 2010 when he won 15 ball games, lost 9 in 33 starts. Very good, 3.66 earned run average. Worked just over 200 innings, 204 innings.
2-2. Squirted foul. Pre-surgery, he was never a big strikeout pitcher. Walked about 3 per 9 innings, but always gave up more hits than innings pitched. So he's used to pitching out of situations like the one he finds himself in now with men on base.
I always say, Dick, you know, if you pitch deep into the ball game, there's always 1 or 2 innings that you have to really make some good pitches. He had to make some good pitches in the 1st inning to only allow 1 run. And here in the 5th inning, maybe 1 good pitch can get him out of here with putting a 0 on the board.
A full count with Carpenter on deck.
Pelfrey at 6'7", 250. When I was down there talking to Glenn Perkins, he was kind of walking back and forth in the dugouts. A lot of pitchers will sit between innings. Pelfrey was kind of just walking back and forth, just probably thinking about his next inning.
Full count. Chopped to 3rd, and Plouffe puts the tag on the lead runner, 2 away. Well, earlier we heard from new hitting coach John Mabry. Twins have a new hitting coach, and he's got a link to both the Twins and the Cardinals. Tom Bernansky was traded from the Twins to the Cardinals early in the 1988 season, in a trade that has been roundly considered the worst trade in Twins history. Twins got Tommy Herr, feeling they had a need at second base. And you were on that team?
I was on that team. I did not like that trade, but you know, we as players, you play with what you're given. And we hated losing Bruno. Bruno was a great, you know, he had such a great season in 1987. He started off slowly in 87 and then ended up hitting over 30 home runs. And then you know, he was starting off kind of slowly in 88, and they decided to make a move. And I think for the ball club, in the clubhouse itself, it was not the right move.
And I think Andy McPhail said as much shortly after he made it. It just didn't work out. It seemed like a rather abrupt move on the Twins' part. 1-1. Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals felt they needed a little more pop in their lineup,
It was
and they got
sad
that.
to say that what the Twins got in return from Tommy Herr, he didn't really want to come over. And I think that was the attitude right off the get-go. You know, when you make a trade, you want to see that player being excited to come into a new organization, and we didn't feel that from Tommy Herr at that time. He wanted to go back to St. Louis.
2-1.
And we wanted to send him there.
Chopped to the right side. And Morneau goes to the bag, and that cleans up the mess of the
Good
fifth
job.
inning. 5 pretty good innings for Mike Pelfrey. You can follow the Twins with MLB.com at bat for your iPhone, iPad, or Android. Get spring training scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit twinsbaseball.com for details. Got a 1-1 ball game here with Miller out on the mound for the Cardinals, and he'll face Eduardo Escobar, Darren Mastroianni, and Jamie Carroll.
You got back quickly.
Well, you know, the line was a little shorter, but I did say hello to all your buddies down
good,
there.
thank you.
And put it in order for later for you. So we're all good.
There's Tom Bernansky.
Bruno.
Early in the 88 season. Talked with him when we were in Jupiter earlier this month about his time in St. Louis. He said he just loved playing for the fans of St. Louis, but also for Whitey Herzog. He just had a great time in St. Louis.
Got a long list of people from Bruno. Chatting with him earlier. Hadn't seen him in a long time. Along the list of people to say hello to from Tom Bernansky. And he was one of our bridge players prior to games. Players would get there early. Now they come to watch video and do all the other things they do. We used to come early and play cards, and, and Bruno was always part of that, and really a good teammate.
There's Pelfrey talking with Rick Anderson. It might be his day is done after 5 innings. Escobar fouls it back 1-2.
And 5 very good innings. You know, he did struggle in the first inning through 25 pitches, but a total of 85 in 5 innings. And Rick Anderson getting him to smile a little bit, relax.
A lot to smile about.
1-2 to the Twins shortstop this afternoon. Went after a pitch up and fouled it back.
Mike Matheny had said he wanted to try to stretch out Shelby Miller a bit. The longest he's been this spring training was 4 innings. That was his last outing. He only gave up 1 hit in those 4 innings. And, of course, it's all about pitch count, too. But Derek Lilliquist, the Cardinal pitching coach, I think he'd like to see him go 6 if possible here this afternoon.
Oh, Miller, 75 pitches coming into this inning. Good piece of hitting there.
Ooh. Escobar pokes the bat out. He'll dig for 2. And he's got a leadoff double. So Escobar channeling Joe Mauer there a little bit, hitting out of the left-handed batter's box, and Miller delivered a pitch down and away, and Escobar just poked it to left.
You know, hitting coaches always talk about letting that ball get deep into the strike zone, and that's exactly what Escobar does right here. Ball's almost on top of him, and then just kind of flip that ball fair down that left field line.
And pitchers will tell you if you get that pitch away and it's belt high, it's a little bit easier to maybe make solid contact on that ball to hit the other way. If it's down at the knees, it's much, much tougher. So still not a good location for Shelby Miller. And like Pelfrey, his location's gotten better as the game has rolled on.
Mastroianni gets at least 1 swing here. He fouls it away. Possible bunting situation.
Well, even that swing by Darren, you could see he's trying to hit the ball to the right side, try to advance Escobar from second to third. Now let's see if he's asked to bunt here. Well, still swing away.
And blocked in the dirt by Cruz.
Cardinal fans all season long last year saw the Cardinals really struggle from an offensive standpoint in this situation. They were last in baseball getting runners from second to third with nobody out. And you think, wait a minute, the Cardinals fundamentally sound, always have been, but they have so many kind of power hitters that they were not kind of giving up their at-bats. But Mike Matheny and John Mabry this year are trying to go back to that style of moving the runners over. We just know how important it is.
It was a dribbler foul. Mastroianni got a breaking pitch down and away and pulled it foul.
Fundamental baseball. You know, you try to do that in 162 ball games during the regular season, and if you do it properly, it may win you 5 or 6, maybe 10 ball games. Then that's the difference between winning maybe 80 or 90 games throughout the season. Just those little things. And Mastroianni, one of those hitters, that's part of his game, is to try to advance the runner, and he's unable to do it there as Miller picks up a big strikeout.
92-mile-per-hour fastball that covered the inside corner for strike 3.
And you can see his adjustment. He's trying to think the other way. When the pitch is inside, it tied him up. He was almost too late on it, and he could have tried an inside-out swing there, but he was just a little tardy on it. But you could see at least the idea was there in his head to go the other way.
Jamie Carroll's walked twice against Miller. He won't get a third plate appearance. Matheny comes out, gets the baseball from Miller. So a good outing for Miller, who has kept the inside track for a starting spot, one would think, in the Cardinal rotation.
It's the final.
Indians had a Mojica, but I thought he went to Japan or something. Welcome back. A little pitching change. Ricky, I'll let you take over. Who's on the mound now for the Cardinals?
Mr. Mojica, who has been very good out of the Cardinal bullpen, and he features a split finger, is really his best pitch, but Edwin Mojica came over towards the end of the season a year ago and really solidified the Cardinals bullpen. Mike Matheny very happy with the job that Shelby Miller did. You wonder what news he might be delivering to him at this point.
Well, I saw him kind of raise his hand, almost like, you know, flatten out a little bit, stay on top, create that good downward plane.
I think Shelby is looking for the news that what day am I starting? And where?
Carroll at the plate. Escobar still at second. Twins saw a little bit of Mojica when he was getting to the big leagues with the Cleveland Indians years ago. And he delivers up and in, ball one.
Mojica has outstanding control, very few walks. And Mike Matheny telling us, Dick, before the game that he was trying to get his guys into their typical situations.
That's a foul ball. Inches foul down the right field line. Yeah, you asked Mike Matheny the question. You know, the bullpen, is it going to line up now in this last week as it might next week? See that ball just landing foul.
And he said he's very close to that. I mean, not 100% there, but he's trying to do that. Of course, the Cardinals yesterday had the opposite experience of using a pitcher that had not pitched professionally for 4 years. And just an unbelievable moment yesterday. They called in a gentleman that had served 4 years in the military and did not really fare very well on the mound. Lieutenant Mitch Harris, who had been drafted out of Navy, went and served his 4 years, and the Cardinals gave him an opportunity to pitch in a game yesterday. Now, he threw 95 miles an hour when he was at Navy, and now he's 28 years old. He's out of the service, and his fastball's not what it used to be, but they brought him into a game. And Mike was telling us, Dick, before the game that he said, you know, so many of his teammates were telling him what an honor it is for you to be here, what an honor it is for us to have you here, but don't expect to get in the game. And so Mike thought that might have been a disservice to him because he went in with the game on the line, gave up a couple home runs, and really a meaningful moment, I think, for a lot of his teammates to have him in a ball game after his service to our country.
And when he came in the game and they played anchors away.
They did. Oh, man, it was just really kind of goosebumps.
And now down and away, 3-1 to Carroll, who's drawn a couple of walks and scored the only Twins run here this afternoon. Bauer will hit next.
Yeah, a little bit about Mojica. He came up with the Indians back in 2006, also pitched for the Padres, the Marlins, and then traded over last year to the Cardinals from the Marlins.
And a foul that'll reach the seats.
Here in the National League, it's going to be. Is it going to be odd for you to call them the Miami Marlins over the Florida Marlins?
And we still mess that up every once in a while. I mean, it's going to be hard to call the Houston Astros an American League team, too. Right. That's going to be another oddity, especially for the Central Division. that's a team that has clearly struggled the last couple of years, and they're going to have a tough time in their division, obviously in the American League this year. But that's one less team for you to kind of sharpen your skills against. And it's going to get a little tougher in the Central.
Carroll takes a close pitch for ball 4, and now Maurer will come up with runners at first and second. And a tough division to step into, too, the American League West.
Very tough.
You've got Oakland that came from out of nowhere, and a lot of young guys that are only going to get better, and they won the division last year. Texas, Seattle's getting better. And, of course, the in-state rival, the Texas Rangers. Here's Maurer, 2 singles for his day's work. And the first pitch drifts outside.
Cardinals will be playing in Anaheim this year, and they'll get a chance to play against Albert Pujols for the first time since him moving there, and also Oakland in Oakland. So a little bit of the taste of that very tough division. Of course, the American League, I'd like to say differently, but honestly has just become so strong. So many teams are just really powerful teams and tough to beat in interleague play when the National League plays them. And so I think Houston's going to certainly struggle and take their lumps.
1-1 to Maurer. And outside again, 2-1. You mentioned the game will be in Anaheim, but just a matter of time before the Angels come to St. Louis. What do you think the reaction will be from Cardinal fans?
It's a great question. I actually like to ask fans that question, and people every place I go, just to kind of get a sense. And what's interesting is every time I ask that question, it is always predicated on the answer of how many years from now is this going to happen.
Right.
Now, if it was this year, I think most people would say there'd be more boos than cheers for Albert. 5 years from now, everybody would say it'd be more cheers than boos, and anytime in between, it's a big debate. And frankly, I'd be cheering for him. I was just honored to be around Albert for the years that he was a Cardinal, and I understand his decision and might not like everything about it, but still want to cheer for him.
Adams stayed with it, got the out at first. Everybody moves up. The second hop kind of ate him up a little bit, but he made a nice play for out number 2.
Yeah, we've seen Adams make a couple nice plays at first base. Like you mentioned, Dick, this second hop right here. Maurer hitting it sharply, but able to get a glove on it, and then a quick feed to the pitcher covering the bag.
Be quick, but don't rush. Love that.
Tom Kelly always said, don't panic.
Right.
Well, he didn't say it like that, though.
He'd yell at you not to panic.
Don't panic.
I had a college coach used to tell me, relax and concentrate. And I always thought, now, wait a minute, how do I do those two things at the same time? But really, that's it. I mean, you're relaxing your body, and you're concentrating with your mind, and you're focused. And for an athlete to finally get that, I think, is what kind of sets you apart.
It's hard sometimes, like we just saw Miller right there, to relax when everything is on the line. He knows he has to have a good outing to maybe make that 5th spot in the rotation. So it's pressure. I always look at pressure as nothing more than you put on yourself.
Would you have described yourself as an emotional pitcher? And people,
on the mound, yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
I was not afraid to show my emotion out there. I got very mad at myself.
And you'd use that, though, in a positive way.
Yes.
2 strikes to Willingham, and he lifts a foul out of play.
Where I think, and I'm going to use a name, Jack Morris. I know as a opposing player, if we could get him riled up, he kind of lost it a little bit to where you can see certain guys, if you can get to them, boy, they get to a next level that's not good.
There's
they try too hard.
A lot of ex-American leaguers right now saying, now you tell me. Because he didn't get riled very often. He won a lot of games. But that's exactly right. Some guys respond well to emotion and others don't.
Well, the best example of that in the American League currently is Justin Verlander. Verlander, if anything, he doesn't throw as hard as he did when he first came up. He's got a great arsenal of pitches, but what made him the best pitcher in the American League is the fact that he was able to control that. The Twins were better than anybody else at getting inside Verlander's head and getting him off his game, whether it would be a Carlos Gomez bunt, something like that. And Verlander finally matured. Is that the right word?
Corralled it.
Corralled it.
And I find it interesting thinking about Cardinal pitchers of the past. 2 guys always stand out to me, and you've seen both of these guys over the years pitch, Bert, but Bob Forsch and John Tudor. Very, very different people. Bob, the most calm guy in the world in the dugout, and in the clubhouse, John Tudor, very kind of grouchy all the time. But when they pitched, they became the opposite. John Tudor was relaxed and chilled about everything, and Bob Forsch was a maniac. And so it's just kind of interesting in terms of sometimes competition brings out a different emotion in you that
brings out a different person.
Just fits exactly.
We just ran down to Port Charlotte. I saw Bruce Keeson, Bruce Keeson, and boy, he's a great guy off the field. But boy, you get a baseball in his hand, he would knock down his own mother
if she was crowded to play.
Wigginton fires across.
No, doesn't matter where she is. He would knock her down.
That's not right.
Here at Hammond Stadium from Florida Gulf Coast University, not the basketball team. They're probably still sleeping after their big upset again yesterday over San Diego State. But what a proud moment for everybody associated with that university. The first 15 seed to advance to the Sweet 16, and they have the city and area of Fort Myers really generated and excited.
Yeah, they just became a Division I school like 4 years ago, and last year was the first time they actually qualified if they could get into the final 64. But this year they're doing it.
It was so
unbelievable.
So much fun to be at dinner last night and see a lot of the fans of the team just hooting and hollering, watching the game on television, and clearly just a kind of a magical moment. It's part of what kind of draws us to that tournament. And it's interesting too how the players all are a part of that. They have their brackets and their favorite teams, and this is where kind of we went to school and where we grew up, and it's certainly kind of a major topic of conversation in spring training.
Two quick strikes. Brian Presley, a Rule 5 pickup for the Twins, delivers another fastball lifted towards center field. Mastroianni retreats to make the catch. Now the joke is here, and it's just a joke, it's not really happening, but the fans here are so excited that they were rioting last night and tipping over golf carts.
A little smaller scale.
Nice kind of a retirement community here, a lot of golfing.
Well, this weekend, they're going to be playing the Gators, the Florida Gators. So now the state is split. Who do you want to win?
Twins have Wilkin Ramirez out in left field. He's replacing Josh Willingham. Mastroianni with a catch, and Taveras at the plate. Presley, a Rule 5 pickup, and the Twins are thrilled to have him, to the point where it sure looks like he's going to make the pitching staff on merit. As a Rule 5 pickup, he would have to be offered back to the Boston Red Sox for half the price of $50,000, $25,000. But they think on merit this guy has pitched well enough and shown enough to make the Twins bullpen this year.
Yeah, last year in the Red Sox organization, started in Single-A, then promoted to Double-A. And he has had an outstanding spring.
Sharply hit again, and this one a base hit to center field. And Taveras with a sharp base hit, his second of the ball game.
2 hits for Taveras, and the ball just jumps off of his bat, and he's also a threat to steal. I don't know that he's going to be a 40 stolen base guy, but certainly has the kind of speed to be able to pick up some stolen bases, but that's really what he does best, is hit.
Boy, good follow through there by that swing. You watch that bat go all the way through. Good contact.
You know, you guys talking about Rule 5, and you think about that from the Red Sox point of view, and really it's one of the kind of the equalizers from the player's point of view, that if teams don't protect you high enough, somebody else can go out and grab you and say, you know what, I think you can be a big leaguer. And so a team like the Red Sox probably would like to have him back, but they're not really wishing him ill will either. But that's part of the game, is you can't protect everybody, and if you don't protect the guy high enough, you might lose him.
It's not just the minor league numbers. Last year, the Twins were impressed with Presley during the Arizona Fall League, and they decided to take him in the Rule 5 draft. Now, Twins have had some success with that over the years. Johan Santana came to the Twins through the Rule 5 draft, and years before that, Shane Mack, part of a '91 World Championship ball club, was a Rule 5 pickup. And Scott Diamond most recently, although the Twins didn't find room for him on the big league team, the 25-man roster, they worked out a swap with the Braves and kept him, and Diamond was the best thing the Twins had going in terms of a starting pitcher last year.
Well, Presley, 24 years old, born in Dallas, Texas, signed by the Red Sox in 2007. Last year combined 7 wins, 5 losses. Very good ERA between single A and double A.
Popped up short right field. Parmalee comes in, shielding his eyes with his glove. 2 away.
At bats have been a little bit better today for Ty Wigington. He had a base hit in the 4th inning, and really just a little bit late on that one. The ball got in on him a bit, but you could see the timing starting to come back for him. And again, been a rough spring training, producing a little bit of emotion that we just saw and heard. But he's not far off.
Presley might be one of those guys that just benefited tremendously from being moved out of the starting rotation. First in the Red Sox system, and a fastball just off the plate. But he never really had much success as a starter, but as a relief pitcher, pitching an inning or 2 at a time, he left it all out there on the mound, didn't have to try to preserve anything for later innings, and that might be his ticket to the big leagues.
Well, you know, it's funny because I interviewed Glenn Perkins, and that's what Perk and I, after the interview, were talking about. He said, you know, I'm looking forward to being a closer because as a starter, which the Twins had hopes for him when he first came up, Perk says, you know, I'm not a guy that wants to pitch 3 or 4 innings. I want to just throw everything I've got at him at one point. And there are some guys that can be starters. You did both.
I did.
You saved ball games. You were, you know, starter. You did long relief. You did about everything at the major league level. Did you particularly like one over the other?
I liked it all, but I would say that what I benefited from being a reliever is that focus on the fact that I'm only going to throw 10 pitches here, so let me just go all out with the 10 that I've got. And let me focus, and then once you kind of figure out that, okay, that's my best, then you just try to kind of parlay that best a little longer and see if you go 4 or 5 innings that way as a starter. But a lot of times you'll see a reliever as a guy that's maybe a 2-pitch guy, and a starter is a guy who's a 3-pitch guy in terms of having kind of the quality pitches to be able to last that long. But to me, I like the joy of doing it all.
Cruz coming to the plate with 2 men aboard and 2 out in the 6th.
I like starting because you had 3 or 4 days off.
Yeah, but if you have a bad
job,
but if you have a bad start, then those 3 or 4 days last forever. But you didn't have enough of those. That's why. That's why you.
Yes, I did.
Well, we all have some.
You know what? It made me work harder.
Yeah.
You know, I ran more.
Yeah.
I punished myself because I was not happy with the results. So.
And you make games in between, the bullpen that you have in between.
Way back when, we used to throw batting practice in between starts. They said, why are you throwing batting practice? I said, well, because I did in my last start. I thought I'd just do it
Throw
again.
some more.
Fouled away, 1-1. Twins making some roster moves today. Right now they have 31 players on their roster, but 18 of them are pitchers, and some of those pitchers are hurt. But it sure looks as if Presley is going to be heading north and in uniform and have his name introduced in a major league ballpark next Monday at Target Field. There's a fastball that singes the inside corner.
You know, we were talking about Matheny, talking about, you know, Miller with that downward plane. That last pitch right there, good downward plane. Presley almost straight over the top, trying to create that ball that goes at an angle toward home plate.
1-2.
Got a pretty good curveball too.
Fastball misses low. That one clocked at 96 miles per hour.
96 mile an hour downhill is pretty good.
Not bad.
And there's a sense when you are throwing downhill, and I would say it's somewhat of an optical illusion, but you almost seem like you're just seeing half the baseball. It's just really tough to pick up the ball when it's coming at that angle. The guys that are kind of flatter with their deliveries almost are showing you the ball. It just seems much more hittable, at least at the big league level. And so those, if you can get a pitcher, especially a tall guy, to throw downhill and get that leverage, it's a big plus.
The WBC, I had Luke Van Meel, that is 7'1".
Wow.
And that's one thing we really worked on, is getting that angle. And boy, he threw well for me because he did create that good downward plane.
So you guys talk about that, and one of the first things I think of is how drastic a change it must have been then from 1969 to 1970 when they lowered the mound 5 inches.
Well, you talk about high school. I was in high school then, Bert. I don't know about where you were in the late 60s, but that a little bit before our time. But the guy that really is credited for influencing that the most is Bob Gibson.
Right.
Bob Gibson was so unhittable.
68.
And with that downhill delivery.
Still had a great year then.
Right.
Denny McClain won 30 games.
Might have seen the big curveball by Presley as he strands a couple of runners in the top of the 6th. By the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, spring training home of the Minnesota Twins. Find your island in warm sand beaches with too many shells to count. Visit FortMyersSanibel.com and find your island today. Dick Bramer, Ricky Morton, Bert Blyleven bringing you Grapefruit League action from Hammond Stadium. It's a gorgeous day, hardly a cloud in the sky. We got a 1-1 ball game as we move to the bottom of the 6th. 1-1 our score. The Twins will send up Justin Morneau, Ryan Doman, and Chris Parmalee against a new Cardinal pitcher.
And we were just talking about the difference between starting and relieving, and a good example of that is Joe Kelly, who did a little bit of both a year ago with the Cardinals, was actually a closer in college and found himself in the starting rotation for the Cardinals a year ago. Usually it goes the other way, where a guy's a starter in college and they turn him into a closer. But in many ways, Joe Kelly, whose spring training's been a bit up and down, was as valuable as anybody in this Cardinal pitching staff in the middle of the season a year ago. He was counted on to do a lot of different things, and at this point he's in the bullpen for Mike Matheny.
But is he not one of the, maybe, I mean, he's along with Miller trying to get that 5th spot.
He is trying to get that 5th spot. I think with what Shelby did today, I think they're leaning in the direction of Miller, especially because Joe Kelly can do so many different things. And with Jason Mott being hurt in the Cardinal bullpen. I think you want to have more arms down there that you can count on. And Joe Kelly's one of those guys. He has an electric fastball as well. He kind of has a sidewinding delivery, but the ball jumps out of his hand, and you often get a lot of movement from Joe Kelly as well. It's a good changeup.
Yeah, Kelly, 24 years old, third-round draft pick, same year that Shelby Miller was a #1 draft pick back in 2009. So pretty nice draft. Two good arms for the Cardinals out of that 2009 draft. Kelly last year 5-7, very good 3.5 ERA in 16 starts, 24 appearances overall.
Justin Morneau takes one down and away, ball 1. Fairness to Kelly, Mike Matheny wanted him to start an inning. It'd be unfair to bring him in the middle of an inning, as was the case in the 5th. So Mojica got his work done, got the final 2 outs. And now Kelly gets a chance to start an inning, and Morneau lifts a pop-up short left field. And Chambers comes in one away. You know, you brought up a good point about Bob Gibson being instrumental in the lowering of the mound. It was 1968 to 69 that they lowered the mound. 68 was also the year Don Drysdale had his marathon scoreless inning streak. And in the American League, there was one 300 hitter. Carl Yastrzemski won the batting championship with a 301 batting average. Tony Oliva was second at 289.
Yeah, you know, pitching was dominating. So you know what they do? They lower the mound. You know, everything for the hitters.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Bert.
You have 2 pitchers. Go ahead, Dick.
Let's bring the ball. Let's bring the fences in. Let's make the strike zone smaller. We've got all of our little pet peeves.
Raise the compression of the baseball too. You got to have rock hard baseballs too, right?
Yeah, oh for sure. There's a guy that could hit.
No matter what the strike zone, no matter what the ballpark.
3 batting titles. Yep. Back in the day, they had roommates, and his roommate was Rod Carew, and he won 7 batting titles.
Do you think
as
they talked hitting at all in their room?
2 strikes to Doman. That's 10 batting championships in 1 hotel room. That's pretty good.
Yes.
Doman with a single and a fly ball to left. And now 1-2. Doman, the designated hitter for the Twins, and the Cardinals, given everything surrounding Carlos Beltran, they probably wish they had the DH over in the National League, because Beltran with a busted toe. There's Doman lining one and caught by Carpenter at second base. Or Descalzo, I believe, has moved over there now. At any rate, when Beltran left for the WBC, he was the designated hitter, and the challenge is going to be, because there's no DH in the National League, obviously, when is he going to be ready to take his position in the outfield?
And he's such a pivotal part of the Cardinals offense, and what you expect to get in terms of power in the middle of the lineup. In fact, they'd like to have Beltran hit second as a switch hitter. The Cardinals have kind of gone to this philosophy that started with Tony La Russa, that we want some pop in that second spot, and so Beltran could be that guy. But you know, can he play right field every day, and is he going to be ready for opening day? Those are question marks right now, but you have a lot of other options at this point. And where is Alan Craig going to play, and is David Freese going to be healthy? And right now there's a lot of I don't knows coming out of the Cardinals camp, and they don't know what they don't know, so they can't project what's going to happen by April 1st, but clearly injuries are a factor.
Fans and people like you are going to keep asking the questions, even though there's not a ready answer.
You got to ask.
Well, I think we know as former players, one thing, you do not want to push him. You don't want him out there and then re-injure something that is going to put him longer on the shelf.
2-1 to Parmalee. High pop-up. Descalzo retreats, staggering, and he stays with it. Good play. Looking right up into the sun. And he makes the catch, and it's a 3-up, 3-down, 6 for Kelly. Day for baseball here in Fort Myers, even across the board. First inning runs for both teams. 6 hits, Dick Bramer, Ricky Horton, and Bert Blyleven as we move forward to the 7th inning. And the new batter for the Cardinals is Greg Garcia, hitting in what was the pitcher spot.
Garcia has become an intriguing player on the Cardinal roster, and he's doing it mostly with his glove. They really like the way he feels. Again, Jose Oquendo, kind of a guru as it comes to teaching and evaluating defenders, and he has some versatility. He can play really all the infield positions, and again, with the injuries, he's a guy that, you know, his value's gone up. And Oquendo himself was that kind of player. He could play everywhere.
So Garcia hitting against Presley, who begins his 2nd inning of work. Fouled away.
I know Oquendo's name was in the running, I believe, to manage the Cardinals and also other ball clubs.
Yeah, Jose is so well thought of, and I think in some ways he's doing what he likes to do, which is coach. I mean, there are times where as a manager, you know, you don't have enough time to deal with the coaching and the details. You've got to kind of manage the big picture and deal with the game and the game situations. I think Jose's can certainly manage if that's a direction down the road he wants to go, but honestly, I think his real love is teaching the game.
Breaking ball misses up.
He's one of those players always had the soft hands.
Yeah.
No matter where he played.
There's a curve tapped over the mound. Charging is Escobar. Look at that arm. They got him. Wow. Nice play at first by Dan Rolfing, who's a transplanted catcher. And Escobar charging, rifled his throw across off target. And Rolfing, I used to play it over there, showed some pretty quick footwork.
Well, he knew this was going to be a tough play right off the get-go because of that high chop over the mound. But Escobar charges it, throw a little offline, but Rolfing does a good job of catching this ball up the line, but also keeping that foot on the bag.
And with the shortstop on the move, that was a very tough play to keep his foot on the bag, because he also threw a bullet at him, and he wasn't very far away from it. Makes me think of the old days. Sean Dunston, who played some with the Cardinals, but was also a Cub. He used to whistle that ball across the infield, and every time he'd throw it, Leon Durham would be screaming. Stop throwing it so hard.
He had a cannon.
1-1 to Descalzo.
Again, the fun athleticism of a shortstop, though. It's just fun to watch him play that position well.
So much history in St. Louis. I want to bring up Stan Musial. I know, passing as Stan the Man over the winter affected a lot of people in the Cardinal organization. Ricky?
Well, Stan was really, as much as anybody, the quintessential Cardinal. If you think about who was the man, he was the man. Certainly that was his nickname, but the guy that represented the organization. When you think Cardinals, you think Stan Musial. And his passing was felt throughout not just Cardinal Nation, but really all baseball fans. A lot of really wonderful comments at his funeral. We were actually at the Cardinal Fantasy Camp, guys, when it happened, and a number of the Hall of Famers were down there, and they left the fantasy camp for a day to go back for his memorial service. And we had a chance to share it some with some of the Cardinal fans at the fantasy camp that had their memories of Stan, and many would say, I'm a baseball fan because of Stan Musial, and that's a pretty neat statement.
Base hit for Descalzo. Robinson.
Twins organization went through that when Harmon passed. Same thing.
I was just going to bring that up. In this, we meet so many wonderful people in this business, in this game, but every once in a while you'll run across someone who is universally loved and admired outside the marketplace, and certainly that was true with Stan Musial, as it was in the Twins organization with Harmon Killebrew.
Almost could say the same quality of both of those guys, that you felt like you knew them even though you didn't. They had this ability, the way they carried themselves, and I never had a chance to meet Harmon Killebrew, and certainly did with Stan, but they just seemed likable from a distance, to be the point that that could be my next door neighbor. Could just be a guy that I could be friends with, and they both had that quality, which in baseball I think is important. You recognize the face of a player and the kind of the personality of him, not just the ability, and those two guys really certainly great in ability, but they stood out in other ways.
We saw it from Harmon. I'm sure you did. Here's a ground ball to second. Might be two. Escobar to second. Carroll's relay not in time. So Robinson flying down the line stays out of the double play, and the inning will continue. I'm sure it could have been turned any faster than that.
Yeah, Gardy's coming out. There'll be a pitching change, but a bang-bang play at first base.
Tyler Robertson's going to come in to pitch for the Twins. The guy, they hope, get the final out of the inning. Close play at first, but not a double play. Nevertheless, a good inning and 2/3 for Ryan Presley. We'll tell you about Tyler Robertson when we come back. Robertson, who was with the Major League club last year, a situational lefty, has not had a good spring training, as those numbers would suggest. He gets a chance here to try to get the Twins out of the 7th inning.
Yeah, I was talking to Glenn Perkins about bad outings. Tyler Robertson, his last outing against the Yankees here, he gave up 4 runs in 1 inning, and you know that kind of hurts the ERA as a reliever. You have 1 bad inning and everything else is magnified. But Tyler Robertson, big part of that bullpen. Good fastball, try to get that slider over, and got a chance to make the club.
And as a situational left-hander, this is the situation. 3 lefties in a row: Matt Carpenter, then Matt Adams, and then Oscar Taveras. So again, Ron Gardenhire doing what we talked about with Mike Matheny, is trying to get his guys into situations that they'll see a week from today. Hard to believe that opening day is actually less than a week away.
So with 2 gone and a runner at first, Robertson needs to be aware of Robinson at first base, and he'll throw over there to check him.
Yeah, Robertson, pretty big lead right there with a throw over.
Breaking ball down and away. Mauer digs it out, ball 1.
Shane Robinson is saying that he learned a lot about stealing bases from Willie McGee, who's now officially a coach with the Cardinals. And like the Twins, a lot of the former players that come down for spring training and the guys that are around as coaches, just great influence. And Willie taught him a thing or two about stealing bases, and we'll see if it helps him this year.
Well, at least when we were there at the beginning of the month, Lou Brock was in uniform and as a spring training instructor.
Jim Edmonds came down. We also saw not only Whitey Herzog, Ozzie Smith was there in the early going, spending a lot of time with the middle infielders, and Red Schoendienst's presence is always important, right, as the guy that's been around a long time. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Robertson throws over to first. The Twins years ago had Lou Brock as a spring training instructor. I believe 1986 was the year. And they brought him in generally to help the base running and base stealing, but specifically to work with shortstop Greg Gagne, who was very fast first to third, but never did, despite Lou Brock's tutelage, never did develop that knack to be a great base stealer. Carpenter back safely.
Well, you have to have almost an arrogance to do it well, and I saw that in Vince Coleman, who's really the best base stealer I've ever been around, and never afraid to take a chance. And speaking of taking a chance, Shane Robinson trying to get a
he was leaning.
Head start.
He was heading to second.
But Vince just had the incredible confidence that you're just not going to throw me out, period.
And with Rolfing holding the runner, Carpenter spanks a single through the hole.
Well, you know, I had the opportunity to pitch against Ricky Henderson, you know, the all-time base stolen leader. And, guys like Brock and Henderson and Coleman, they were able to, the first couple steps, already be at full tilt. I don't know if you can teach that.
No, well, the worst thing about Ricky Henderson was not only was he a great base stealer and a good hitter, but you didn't want to throw one right down the middle to him either, because he could also take you deep. I mean, just incredible, gifted player, really across the board. He's the guy I always say the least favorite guy I'd ever pitched to, Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, he could beat you in so many ways.
Here's Adams with 2 on and 2 out. Robertson spins. Escobar cut behind Robinson.
Yeah, that play right there, Escobar doing the open glove. If Robertson's a little quicker, they may have a play at second base. Robertson was kind of out a little bit far, and that's where as a pitcher you want to, as soon as he goes and opens up that glove, boy, you spin and throw.
Slider missing. Big matchup here for Robertson, who needs to prove that he can get left-handed batters out, but also a big at bat for Adams.
He's trying to prove that he can hit left-handed pitching. He's got a short enough stroke, and he knows the zone well enough. He ought to be able to do it. Doesn't look uncomfortable at the plate.
It almost looks like a miniature version of Adam Dunn. Built, you know.
He's actually a miniature version of himself, because he dropped about 30 pounds in the offseason and actually sent a chef to his home in Pennsylvania to kind of get him on a good diet and get his nutrition in order and get him stronger, and he's really responded to that. The Cardinals really have gone kind of all out in that department in terms of kind of the physical training and the nutritional awareness of their players, and I think he's in much better shape than he was a year ago.
2-1 to Adams. Called strike.
I remember when Greg Luzinski was with the Chicago White Sox. They did that to Greg Luzinski, wanted him to shed some pounds, and all of a sudden the balls that he were hitting were to the warning track. And he said, "To heck with this diet." He went back to being Greg Luzinski, and boom, there it came again. So each individual's different as far as,
no question.
Breaking ball, tap foul. If there is a third left-hander in the Twins bullpen, Robertson would be a candidate for it, at least in the short term. Rafael Perez, the former Cleveland pitcher who always pitched lights out against the Twins, is in camp, and he's working his way back from shoulder surgery.
Yeah, he had that in September. Perez, of course, with the Indians.
Long look at second, and a fastball in the dirt, and now it's a full count.
Well, that's a slider right there. That's one thing we saw last year. Robertson throws a lot of sliders, almost shades of Sparky Lyle. When Sparky Lyle came in, slider, slider, slider. Another slider down.
Well, the old baseball adage is if you throw it 2-2, you shouldn't be afraid to throw it 3-2. So we expect to see it again here. But a lot of times on that 3-2 pitch, you kind of goose it up there a bit, just try to throw it for a strike and hang it.
Runners go, and that's just foul. Wolfing dove for it, across the line.
Yeah, that looked like a slider, and exactly what you were talking about, Ricky. You left that pitch up. You're trying to aim it rather than let it go, and Adams had a good swing at that high breaking ball.
Here's the pitch we're talking about. You're going to throw it, but boy, I want it to be a strike, so I just kind of goose it up there, and the ball's hit hard by Adams. That's not the location for a slider up and in. You want a slider to be down and away, and he really caught a break there by Adams not keeping that ball fair.
Another 3-2.
There's a better one.
You bet. Got the swing and a miss to strand a couple of runners, and we're still tied at 1 in the middle of the 7th inning. logo game tickets remain available and are very affordable, starting at just $8. Special deals are available for every day of the week. Check the deals out at twinsbaseball.com. Call 1-800-33-TWINS. Dick Bramer, Ricky Horton, and Bert Blyleven in what has become a pitcher's duel here in Fort Myers, Florida. Gorgeous afternoon for baseball. One apiece. Twins will hit in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Game's funny, isn't it? I mean, Adams had that pitch to hit. He just hooked it, just a little bit foul, and then Robertson comes back with a nasty slider to strike him out.
Well, it showed me something. He went back to that pitch again, and he realized that, boy, just by goosing that up there, that's not going to get the job done. I'm going to have to give him my best pitch. So it's a game of adjustments, and he made an adjustment, and a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to do it. But if you get that opportunity, you better take advantage of it.
Trevor Plouffe will lead things off for the Twins in the 7th. Dick Bramer, Ricky Horton, and Bert Blyleven. And throughout the broadcast this afternoon, we've tried to draw connections between the Cardinal organization, the Twins organization. We talked about the Tom Bernansky trade, things like that. Tom Mee Jr. is a former Twin broadcast.
Why do I laugh when I mention his name?
Former Twin.
We all agree to laugh at that name.
Production guy. He's been in St. Louis for decades now, and his father, Tom Mee Sr., is going to be inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame this summer. And long overdue honor maybe is not the right way to put it. It's just a nice honor for a man who meant so much to the Twins organization from day one. Media relations.
I know he's retired, but I see him and his wife are always at ball games while they can get there.
And our Tom Mee, by the way, guys, our director, who does an outstanding job with the Cardinal broadcast, actually played at the University of Minnesota, played with Paul Molitor, and his son also played there. So the ties are definitely great, and he has great admiration for his father's work, and that's a outstanding award for him. Happy for him.
Just off the plate, 2-2 to Plouffe. Eddie Guardado going into the Twins Hall of Fame with Tom Mee Sr. You talk about, there's a sharply hit ball to right field, a base hit for Plouffe. You talk about pitchers who embrace the role of a reliever after struggling as a starter. Maybe no greater example in Twins history than Eddie Guardado, who struggled as a starter, but when they gave him the closer's role almost by default, he embraced it and became one of the best in the business.
Every day, Eddie. And congratulations to both Tom Mee and Eddie Guardado.
We'll see what Escobar does here. It's a 1-1 game. It's late. Escobar needs to prove his ability, particularly if he's hitting in the 9th spot in the batting order, to advance runners and maybe drop down a bunt here to get not Plouffe, who's being pinch run for now.
I'll tell you what, that was a good at-bat by Trevor Plouffe, only because there was a good fastball away. And I think what we've seen from Plouffe, a lot of times he'll try to hook that ball. Instead, he went with that ball and lined it into right field.
And ball one.
Tony Cruz may have been crossed up on that. He took that pitch high in the zone and then asked for time to go out to talk to Joe Kelly, and maybe something about that delivery he didn't like.
Well, Cardinals were looking bunt. Watch your reaction of Cruz. Yeah, I believe he's looking for a breaking ball. Ended up looked like maybe an off-speed pitch fastball.
Those are hard to catch too when you're looking for something different. Cardinals very aggressive in their bunt defense. It's something that become a bit of a trademark, and part of that has to do with Yadier Molina behind the plate quarterbacking it, but Mike Matheny has his guys, much the way Tony La Russa did, looking for that lead out always. I mean, they're going to charge hard, they're going to make you slap it by them, and we see Carpenter at third in on the grass, and he'll charge hard.
Tell you what, you guys have one of the best catchers in all of baseball with Molina. I loved watching him. Puerto Rico and the WBC, just the way he goes about his business. Boy, as a former pitcher, he looks like he would be someone I would love to throw to.
Yeah, great leader, and is becoming even more so of a leader with Chris Carpenter and Lance Berkman being gone from the Cardinal clubhouse. Yadi is clearly the most popular Cardinal player at the moment. Every place we go in the offseason, and ask folks who they're looking forward to seeing play, it's always Yadier Molina and his brother Benji in his first year as the secondary hitting coach for the Cardinals.
Great.
2-0 to Escobar. Another check of the pinch runner at first. It's number 97. That's all we know at this point. We'll get a name for you as soon as we can. And Escobar slices it foul, 2-1.
Carpenter continues to take the bunt away, but Escobar continues to try to slap it past him.
Nate Hansen is the pinch runner at first base. Earlier in spring training, Paul Molitor was over on Tom Kelly Field here working on bunting with some players, 3-1 to Escobar. And they were simply working on bunting the ball down and getting it down on the ground. And so many of the bunts were back to the mound. And I asked Paul about that later. I said, angling the bat, trying to bunt it up the line and all. He goes, you know what? From when Paul played in high school and in college at the University of Minnesota, bunting philosophy has changed. We'll see what Escobar does here. Lines a base hit to left center field. That may run the gap. Nice diving stop out there by Chambers. Hansen to third, and Escobar has his second double. Both going to the opposite field.
Sometimes in a situation like that, 2-1, you're looking, okay, he made bunt in this situation. Kelly going with a fastball, not a bad pitch down. And we've seen the Twins hitters today take that ball the other way. Trevor Plouffe just took a fastball the other way to right field. Here, Escobar, good piece of hitting, ball down, kind of like what Joe Mauer did in the first inning.
And maybe saving a run is Adrian Chambers in left field with that effort to dive for that ball in the gap and try to keep the runners from scoring. Nate Hansen, the pinch runner, and Escobar advancing to second base. Now the Cardinals have to play the infield in. And again, we're seeing situations now, guys, like it matters. They're starting to move more towards the real stuff.
Chance for a reprieve for Mastroianni, who had a bad fifth inning at bat. Infield in. Mastroianni takes inside in the fifth inning after Escobar led off the inning with a double. Mastroianni's job was to push the ball to the right side and advance him to third. He ended up taking a called third strike, and now here in the seventh, try to punch one through a drawn-in infield. 1-0. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Well, back to bunting. What Paul told me, Paul Molitor, that attitudes about bunting have changed. Where now teams in the minor leagues and up to the major leagues just coach their bunters to get the ball down on the ground regardless of direction, because so many teams want to get the sure out at first base. So it's interesting to hear you say the Cardinals are kind of aggressively doing the other, taking the other approach. Let's try to get the lead runner, because apparently they're one of the few teams in baseball that plays that aggressively.
And they're tremendously that way. And again, Albert Pujols was part of that when he was with the Cardinals. He would be right on top of home plate, and again with Yachty and the pitchers are taught to charge hard and try to get that lead runner. And when you do that, you're often opening up the middle of the infield.
Fouled off of Mastroianni's leg.
But I always remember Keith Hernandez, right? Another one that just comes storming in.
Yep. Well, bunting, I don't know how you feel about it, Bert, and probably didn't get a chance to do it as much in the American League, but people talk about bunting, and it looks like it's an easy thing to do, but I think it's a tough thing to do well. I think it's almost like you say, well, you're just letting the ball hit the bat. Well, that's not as easy as it sounds when a guy's throwing a slider down and away or a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
I can honestly say, as far as my swinging ability, not hitting, I was a good bunter. I took a lot of pride in bunting because that's the only thing I could do with the bat.
I still think it's tough. And no matter, and again, you got to get it directionally. If it's third baseman's back, you want to make him field it on a
Well, you see a lot of guys that in bunting situation don't square around anymore. Now their bodies are, kind of like three-quarters, and then they try to jab at the ball.
A wild pitch. And Hansen will score. So Kelly got 2 strikes on Mastroianni, and then augured one into the left-handed batter's box.
Well, both runs scored by the Twins here this afternoon on wild pitches.
And no cross up there. That's just a curveball that really overthrew, trying to get the nasty one for the strikeout, and he just pulled it right across home plate, and no chance for Tony Cruz to stop that one.
No, Miller in the first inning wild pitched Jamie Carroll home, and then now we just see Joe Kelly wild pitch a runner home.
Watch out.
Mastroianni got a pitch up and in and pulled it foul. Well, as aggressive as the Cardinals are, Bert, I think it's safe to say the Twins are just as much to the other extreme. They want to make sure you get one out on a bunt. And if it's the out at first, so be it. That's fine. We saw that on Miller's bunt attempt in the 5th inning. The top of the 5th, he dropped it down. I don't know. It was a Plouffe who fielded it, even looked at second base. Just get the sure out. Full count to Mastroianni. Fly ball should be deep enough. Out there and hanging and scoring is Escobar. And the Twins score at least a couple here in the second.
A little reprieve for Mastroianni as he does drive in a run. The second run of the inning. Twins take a 3-1 lead. So much plays into somebody going to bunt up, Dick. You know, who's a runner at first? Right. What kind of jump is he going to get? How quick is he from first to second? There's so many things. Yeah, you want if another club's going to give you one out, you want to take it. But a lot of times they'll say the scoreboard dictates what you need to do, especially late in a ball game. Early in the ball game, get the out. Late in the ball game, hey, you want to try to get that lead runner if possible.
There are a lot of situations in the National League where you have a pitcher at the plate bunting in a situation first and second, nobody out, that you can actually start thinking that I'm going to try to turn this into a double play, because if I can. I'm not worried about him swinging the bat. I know they're going to have him bunt. So if we can not only get that lead runner, but we may have a chance of having that quick throw to third and then on to first base, because the pitcher may not be as kind of used to running the bases.
I did that a couple of times. Yeah, with the Pirates. Yeah,
it happens.
I raised my hand on that.
2-2.
That's not what I was insinuating, but thank you for adding to that.
You're welcome.
2-2 to Carroll, who's walked 3 times today. Bouncer to short. Garcia for Adams, and that's out number 2. We'll bring Mauer up for his 4th plate appearance of the day. 2 singles for Mauer, both of them to the opposite field. I guess you look at the spray chart here, the hit chart for the Twins. Most of the hits have gone to the opposite field. Mauer said he would like to catch in the neighborhood of 120 to 130 games. And that's one of the reasons the Twins sent down Drew Butera today. It appears the Twins are going to start the season with just 2 catchers, Mauer and Ryan Doman.
Well, if something were to happen, you're only a phone call away from getting another catcher. So if that's the direction the Twins deciding to go.
Strike on the outside going.
Butera makes me think of his dad, played against him, Sal Butera, and it also reminds me every time we see Lombardozzi in the National League, who's playing for the Nationals, I cringe a little bit because his dad got a hit off of me in the '87 World Series, and I'm trying desperately to forget, and it's not working.
Steve Lombardozzi in '87 had a great World Series.
He sure did.
I believe he hit over 400 in that series.
I know of one that he got.
Could have made a case for Lombardozzi being the MVP of the World Series, if not for Viola's pitching performance in Game 7. 3-2 to Mauer. Wilkin Ramirez is on deck.
Well, I believe Dan Gladden, if you look at his numbers, he had a very good series.
Hit 290, grand slam. And Mauer takes a walk with 2 guns. And that'll bring up Wilkin Ramirez, who, as things stand right now, has made the team. Still in camp. Still on the active roster. Not a minor league call-up at all. So Ramirez hitting in what was Willingham's spot. Danny Lehman is running for Mauer. And will take over the catching duty, one would think. Ramirez has had a good camp, and he brings some intriguing qualities to the bench right now. But in his case, I'm sure he's counting down not the days but the hours as the final roster is getting set. Four pieces of bat go flying in every direction, and a foul ball is called. Most of the bat ends up out near shortstop. There's a chunk in front of the mound there and over there and behind home plate. And that one won't be reassembled for sale in the pro shop.
But that sure is a beautiful sound.
Makes you sick.
Well, he kept part of it in his hand.
Weeks of
Somebody worked really hard to make that.
Yes, and it's all gone just like that.
Just not fair.
He's got a bad tree, that's all.
Well, you mentioned him getting close to the end of spring training. This is a time where some of those guys on the bubble, they just kind of refuse to answer their phone.
You just can't be sent down if no one answers the phone, right? Bat stays intact. A lazy fly ball to right. Veras fighting the sun, makes the catch. Couple of runs for the Twins. It started with a single and a double. Both guys came around to score, and it's 3-1. Robertson got the final out of the Cardinals' 7th inning, and now he'll be asked to pitch into the 8th.
Well, he came in, he gave up a base hit to Carpenter, but then with Matt Adams up, Adams had his pitch to hit, and then Robertson came back with that nasty slider to strike him out on 3-2. So that is a big pitch for Tyler Robertson. It was last year, and you can see that he's still trying to get that breaking ball down just like that, whatever it takes.
And you like the fact that he finished off with the best one, and he got away with one, throwing his second one, and then the third one he just said, I'm just going to throw it the way I'm supposed to and just finish it, and got the results.
Now that might have been the fastball at 86, but he throws precious few of those, and it's clear that the slider...
I think what we've seen from Robertson, Dick, don't mean to interrupt you, is that fastball, when he does throw it, he wants to throw it inside the lefties, and that kind of opens the door for that slider away.
There's another slider.
Good one. Taveras does not get cheated. When he swings the bat, he swings it. And he's a little bit fooled by this pitch. And sometimes you can't hit it. Don't swing at it.
Don't take it. Yeah, just take it. I did that all the time.
Got another look at one and spanked it into center field. So Tavares will lead off single.
And that's making an adjustment right there.
Yeah.
He took that nasty one, and then, you know, Robertson came back with it again. And Tavares gets another hit. His third hit of the ball game.
Jermaine Curtis will hit next.
Yeah, he's really showed well this spring training, Tavares. It's a name that really has continued to crop up as Cardinal minor league prospect list, and Michael Wacha's a pitcher that got sent out that is maybe right up there with him in terms of future possibilities. But the Cardinals have gone from the 27th ranked minor league organization just a few years ago to now #1 with all of the prospects that they have, and Tavares a big part of that.
Oh, Matt Adams too.
Matt Adams.
Yeah.
Fastball misses, ball 1.
Jermaine Curtis, Dick, we actually played on the championship AA team in Springfield in AA. He had 313 there and made a nice contribution. That team really, when Tavares was a part of it, really kind of surprised everybody. They played their best baseball at the end.
Rolfing will track the pop-up, and it's into the seats.
A nice one-handed grab by the fan down there.
Curtis played at UCLA, 5'11", 190, fifth-round selection in 2008, and happy to be wearing number 91 today.
Better to be here than in Jupiter, Florida.
Exactly right.
1-2.
You can stay here in minor league camp and be number 12, or you can go with the team to Fort Myers and be number 91.
I'll take 91, please.
Yep, you bet.
To center. Mastroianni retreats, and that's the first out of the inning. I believe I heard Jason Christian as the new Twins shortstop. We have a yet to be identified right fielder.
We know where he is, we just don't know who.
And we know what number he's wearing. Here's Chambers. All right, you've got a pitcher out there, in essence, a two-pitch pitcher, Tyler Robertson. He's got a 86, 87 mile per hour fastball and the slider that we've talked about. Can you throw the slider too much?
I think if it's not good enough, you can. I mean, I think it's always better to show two pitches. Most hitters are taught to look fastball and then adjust to the slider. But you want to establish that you can get outs with two different pitches eventually.
Yeah, I think what the Twins see in Tyler Robertson is a guy that maybe, you're going to pitch maybe an inning and a third. Very seldom will he pitch 2 innings. So, give me your best stuff like we talked about earlier for that 3 outs or 4 outs or 5 outs. Last year at 40 appearances he worked only 25 innings. So, he's a guy to maybe get that one left-hander out, maybe face a couple more batters.
Kevin Bigley is a new right fielder.
I think for guys that are not as comfortable throwing their fastball as much, and I say a bit from experience, I think the key is to use it at the right time. Use it where it's not going to hurt you. Use it in a situation not against a big power-hitting left-hander where he's ahead in the count and you're just going to try to throw one over to get ahead. I mean, that's the wrong time to do it. That's when you've got to go with your best pitch, is your off-speed pitch. I think there are times where you've got to at least show it just to, again, fill out your repertoire.
Maybe not even throw it for a strike, but
right.
Show it.
Exactly. I used to like to show my fastball up and in. I mean, show it like up close and personal as a way for them to see the fastball, but no chance to hit it. You're really just getting them to get out of the way of it, but they see it, and then the slider again becomes more effective.
Yeah, Robertson last year between Rochester and the Twins 73 relief appearances. There's another nasty slider. They worked a total of 53 2/3 innings. So they even did that down at Rochester to prepare him for his role at the major league level.
2-2 to Chambers.
Another
strikeout
slider.
And a runner to second.
Yeah, double play. Well, he's out.
No, he's got to be safe at second. There was no tag put on him. It's not a force play. The batter was retired because first base was occupied.
Well, Christian got me at short when he.
That's an odd thing that he didn't put the tag down.
Yeah. He may have thought it was a force out.
Yep, Christian, the shortstop, didn't drop a tag on Taveras, so he's safe at second on the strikeout pitch in the dirt, and there was really no place for.
Well, this is an odd play. The batter, Chambers, is out right now because first base is occupied. And And it could be that the shortstop thought he might have tipped that ball as the catcher's going out to get it because he doesn't put the tag down on Taveras coming. He just throws on to first base, which is not necessary because Chambers is already out.
Well, actually, Chambers was out twice then. We should be out of the inning.
Now a pitch in the dirt. Lehman retrieves it.
You can try that, Bert. I don't think it's going to work.
So now a runner at third, 2 down. And Cruz, the batter, with a 1-0 count.
But you can see Tyler Robertson, a big man, 6'5", about 250. Good off-speed pitch there at 78 miles an hour.
Look more like a
changeup.
Yeah, more of a changeup type pitch. So 1-1 to Cruz, who stands in the box representing the tying run. And Lehman again has to dig one out of the dirt. 2-1. Very high with a fastball, 3-1. Let's have another left-hander warming up. Called up for today's game only. Left-hander Jason Lane is down in the Twins bullpen. They want to see Robertson work his way through this, and he misses outside, a walk. Well, Robertson has faced 6 batters and retired only 3 of them.
Cardinals have Trevor Rosenthal getting loose in their bullpen, and Trevor Rosenthal, the third guy that was in line to compete for that 5th starter spot. And early on in spring training, they moved him out to the bullpen with the idea that he's better suited in the bullpen, and we'll see him. We've already seen Kelly, and we've already seen Miller all today.
Pete Kozma, the expected regular shortstop for the Cardinals, making his first plate appearance here. The right center field, Mastroianni toward the gap, makes the catch. So Robertson pitches not a clean but a scoreless 8th inning. Join the Twins season ticket family this year. You'll be hitting the sweet spot. Purchase any of the Twins season ticket packages and receive 10% off all food, beverage, and merchandise bought at Target Field. 833-TWINS or twinsbaseball.com. The options to check out the options and learn about the cool benefits that come along with Twins season tickets. Beautiful day in Fort Myers, Florida. Eventually, this weather will hit the Midwest and the upper Midwest. 3-1, the Twins with the lead, moving to the bottom of the 8th inning. And Trevor Rosenthal comes out to pitch to the Twins in the bottom of the 8th.
Trevor moved back into the bullpen about 5 games ago. Hasn't given up a run since then. He had a rough, kind of semi-rocky start. He really started the first spring training game of the season for the Cardinals. Gave up 4 runs in 2 innings of work. And the decision early on was, you know, I really think he's just so valuable out of the bullpen. Even more so now with Jason Mott having elbow issues. Mitchell Boggs has been moved to the closer, and Rosenthal could be the 8th inning guy, could be the 7th inning guy. But everything that you see from this young pitcher, Bert, you just love. He's got an electric fastball and has a good attitude to go along with it.
Yeah, just 22 years old, getting a chance to make that ball club out of the bullpen.
First fastball misses high to Dan Rolfing. Whoa. Over the head of Pedro Florimo, and Rolfing losing the handle of the bat.
Trying to catch up to 96 miles an hour up in the eyes.
A high fastball.
Saw Rolfing have a hand come off the bat the other day in Port Charlotte against David Price. High again, and it's 2-1. Well, Rolfing has had a good camp. He's proven at least to be useful in a variety of different spots. A catcher, first base, seen some time in the outfield.
Well, he's one of the players that were sent down just yesterday, so he's back up, filling a spot right now.
Two and two. Rolfing taking over at first base. Again, he got a chance to play some over there with Justin Morneau and Chris Colabello, both leaving for the WBC. Twins found themselves a little short of first baseman in camp. And now a walk will send him to first base. So Rolfing aboard, and that will bring up Pedro Florimon, who will hit in the DH spot. Florimon again expected to be the starting shortstop for the Twins this year. It'll be his first major league opening day a week from today, barring some unforeseen circumstance.
And those opening days are days that you never forget. That even it doesn't matter how long you play, Bert, the opening day, you're back from a long winter and you go to spring, you get ready, you come back, you get your fans greeting you, and all kinds of pomp and ceremony around those opening day contests. And it really just does. For a player to remember that, you know what, I get to be a big leaguer again. It's just a special day.
It really is. You take the game for granted, but you realize that, there's other guys who want your job. So when you're part of the opening day roster, all that hard work pays off.
Rob Johnson blocked that pitch with his mask. If you're Aaron Hicks, and what you've wanted more than anything else is to hear your name introduced in a big league ballpark and brought to the baseline for the opening day introductions. This is the year to make the team, because the Twins have 3 opening days that they'll be at this year. Their own a week from today, and then the opening day in Baltimore, and then the opening day in Kansas City. Cardinals have the same situation. Arizona's opening day, the Giants opening day, home opener, and then their own after the first week on the road.
And that Giant home opener I'm sure they will be presenting the players that were with the World Championship Club last year their World Series rings.
I was going to say that makes it a little bit less fun, frankly.
Yeah, but you know what? It's kind of cool only because I just found out they're going to do it on Sunday, probably a third game of that series. But to be able to watch as a player, it's kind of like sitting in a losing dugout when the other team's celebrating. You want to be there, so it makes you work harder.
Did that a couple of times, frankly.
Well, Florimone draws a walk. A rough start to the 8th inning.
No, but it is part of it. I mean, you do it. Sometimes it drives you. You mentioned, you have a bad outing. It drives you to get better the next game out. And, it's how you handle adversity. In this inning, a little adversity going for Trevor Rosenthal. He can't find the strike zone. And so how's he handle that? Does he get back on top? Does he take a deep breath? And, it's not often the answer to just try harder. Sometimes you just have to kind of take the breath and relax and get back to doing what you do. Simplify it.
Evan Bigley will hit with 2 men on and nobody out. And Rosenthal's all over the place.
Well, sometimes when you're out on that mound, it just seems tilted. And right now for Rosenthal, the mound is tilted. Got to get back in that groove. Pick up that catcher's glove. Pick up Johnson's glove. Try to throw it pretty much right now, right down the middle of the plate. Johnson's not going to move. They tried a breaking ball, and he missed with that.
Sometimes you'll do that, too, if the release point doesn't seem right with your fastball. Just try a different pitch, and then maybe it'll come back. And I think that was what the idea was, throwing a curveball there. But Derek Lilliquist maybe has the right words of advice for the young right-hander Trevor Rosenthal.
What do we have? 14 pitches and 4 strikes, something like that?
Looks a little rushed in his delivery. He looks a little quick to start and might be throwing him off a bit, although that doesn't look much different than his normal delivery. But, there are times where things are just going too fast for you. You just need to kind of slow your body down and let your arm do the work.
94 miles per hour that covers the inside corner. Bigley trying to break the game open a bit here with an 8th inning hit. Instead of bouncer to third. And a double play. 2 down and on the play. Runner goes to third.
That's why this game is so interesting, because, here you have a pitcher all over the place. Bigley finally gets a pitch to hit. He bounces it to third. Boom. Now there's 2 outs with a runner at third. And you're out of the mound saying,
I got to break and use it, and then take advantage of that.
Nate Hansen entered the game as a pinch runner, scored a run in the 7th, his first plate appearance here. .98, and he paints the outside corner.
He reached 100 a couple of times a year ago, and not unusual for him to get to that level. And there are times where a young pitcher where you almost don't want to tell him that. You don't want that to be the goal. How hard he throws. It's how many good quality pitches you throw.
Good crowd here tonight. Just over 8,000. 8,161 to be exact.
Twins are home again tomorrow against the Orioles. Check swing. No swing. 2-1.
And this is our last telecast here. Our next telecast Thursday night over at JetBlue.
Right. Swing and a miss.
Good fastball there.
Next Cardinal telecast, it will be against the Nationals, a team that we see a lot during spring training and is a team that fun to watch. The Nationals have very talented players. A year ago, they came very close to going further. The Cardinals interrupted that little party, but the Nationals are going to definitely be the team to beat in the National League East.
And when will that telecast be?
That will be on Wednesday.
Okay.
Noon St. Louis time. I'm looking forward to that.
2-2. And Hansen takes one down the middle, strike 3. To the ninth, it's 3-1 Twins on a beautiful afternoon for baseball in Fort Myers, Florida. There's Jason Lane, who will come into the ball game and try to pick up a spring training save.
Boy, you're looking to media guide about Jason Lane. Originally signed as a pitcher back in 1999 with the Houston Astros. He pitched kind of off and on. He became a hitter. A career .241 hitter at the major league level with the Astros, the Padres. Last 4 or 5 years back in the minor leagues again.
And a big year with the Astros in 2005. He had 26 home runs and drove in 78 runs. So for somebody to go from a hitter to a pitcher, usually those guys hit about 210, right? And then you say, well, wait a minute, that's not working. Maybe you should try pitching. But Lane always had a good arm as an outfielder with the Astros, clearly drafted as a pitcher, as you say, originally, Bert. But this is just kind of an odd makeover for him to get this chance now, wearing 96, trying to become a pitcher, and got a pretty good fastball.
Yeah, last year in Reno, not as a hitter, 167, but as a pitcher, 2-0 in 15 relief appearances. Very high ERA, but again, a reliever. You have one bad outing, that ERA, boom, shoots up.
Down the middle of strike 1 and 2.
36 years of age.
Foul back. The White Sox closer a couple of years ago, now with the Toronto Blue Jays, but Sergio Santos was a position player, and finally they converted him back over to the mound. There's a drive to the right field corner. Hard off the fence. Descalzo will hold up. Look at that throw from the right field corner. Wow. That looked like a double all the way, and Evan Bigley from near the warning track threw a rocket to second base.
That ball was hit so hard that might have put a hole in the fish lady out there, but not a bad pitch down. Lined into that wall, but Bigley plays a carom perfectly.
And maybe we need to turn him into a pitcher.
My goodness.
Look at that strike.
Scalzo did the smart thing. He had made it halfway to second base and then wheeled back to first. And a ground ball rolled through the left side. Robinson has a hit. The Cardinals have a threat here in the ninth. Pair of singles greeting Lane in the ninth inning.
Shane Robinson continues his torrid pace here in spring training. Another 2-hit afternoon for him. His batting average has been over .450 all spring. Not one of those guys that is imposing to look at, but he just hits every place he plays.
Well, here's Carpenter with nobody out. And the tying run at first. Ball hit on the ground. Rolfing will get the Shure out there, looking for a double play. Might have Peaked a little early.
That ball it stayed down. It looked like it hit right between the grass and the dirt, right at that little piece right there, and it actually stayed down. Hoping, I thought, did a good job of just corralling that ball.
Could have been worse.
Yes.
He had visions of that ball kicking into right field, and take another look at that last hop. Kind of some top spin on it, but it just stays low. And he was positioning his feet to be able to turn to double play, but the ball didn't cooperate.
Well, here's Adams with the tying run now at second and one away. 87-mile-per-hour fastball for strike one. Also scored. Robinson right behind him, and the Cardinals have tied it up at 3.
Well, I remember in Adams' last at bat, Robertson struck him out on that good slider, and he just missed an extra base hit down that first base line. Here looked like a slider that stayed up. He did not miss this one, hitting it sharply into right field.
So the double play is not turned because of a little bad hop. That opens the opportunity for Matt Adams to drive in 2.
And Lane has given up 3 singles and a hot ground ball for an out. Taveras will hit. Breaking ball over. Strike one. And another ground ball base hit. 4th Cardinals single of the inning.
And 3 of them coming by left-handers.
And Oscar Taveras, quite a day as far as at the plate. 4 hits.
Well, the Cardinal fans know it's not a matter of if Oscar Taveras is going to be a Cardinal, it's when. And I think there's a lot of folks watching this game today saying they want the win to be now.
Adam Melker is the batter, and Rick Anderson to the mound to talk to Lane.
John Mabry all smiles there, and we appreciate hearing from Glenn Perkins and John Mabry during the telecast today, and John giving us a little play-by-play account while his guys were
that's pretty
at the
impressive.
plate, and he's got to be happy with what his team is able to do here in the 9th inning. Might be saying, where you been, though?
Hey, it's a 9-inning game.
That's right.
Lane could use a ground ball hit at somebody. The one that was hit at Rolfing had a little steam behind it. Scored to left, a base hit. They'll hold the runner, and it's the 5th single in 6 at-bats against Jason Lane.
That's Adam Melker, who is also part of that Springfield club that won a championship a year ago. He had 10 home runs for that team. And he just takes his ball the other way, and the hits continue here in the Cardinals' 9th.
Yeah, right now, Jason Lane not fooling anybody. 1 out, but 5 hits for the Cardinals. Loaded the bases.
And all this has happened on about 10 pitches.
There's Chambers.
Corner infielders are up. And Lane hits the outside corner. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes. Yeah, Lane with over 1,200 major league at-bats.
And not a lot of innings as a pitcher. So this experiment is, you'd have to say, taken a few years to develop, but only 41 innings in that 5-year period where he's actually at times hit and pitched both.
Right.
Pop up. Left center field. Mastroianni with the catch and the throw to third. And the Cardinals take the lead. A fastball actually drifted, it seemed, more towards Ramirez, and Mastroeni having a chat with the left fielder about that. Had to run a long way to make the catch.
And since he had to run toward the left field line, he couldn't really get underneath that ball and maybe throw toward home plate, where Ramirez, if he catches that, his body's right toward maybe making a throw at home, because Adams was at third, and he's not the quickest of foot from third or from any base.
And you like the fact that the outfielders were chatting about it, but that's part of the learning experience. Is let's not let that happen again. Let's be prepared to have the right guy catch the right ball at the right time and be in position. Obviously, that's a big miss there, because you got a chance to catch a run at the plate. The tie game in the 9th inning, you got to get that right.
One and 0. To Rob Johnson. 2-0.
Cardinals closer is now Mitchell Boggs, with Jason Mott being out with the elbow problems, and he is now loosening for the Cardinals. The 8th inning specialist a year ago. Can be very nasty in his own right.
Fly ball left field. The wind will knock it down. And Mastroeni makes the call and the catch. But the Cardinals, with 5 singles and 3 runs at the top of the 9th, they take the 9th inning lead. A 3-run top of the 9th inning for St. Louis, and now Cardinals hope that Jason Mott's going to be okay, but he's got some elbow issue that they're going to have to deal with, perhaps even into the regular season. So, as Ricky said, Mitchell Boggs getting a chance to close here, and he might get this chance next week in the first week of the season.
Well, Mike Matheny has said he's the guy as of now, and Mitchell Boggs really has developed his split finger to go along with very high quality moving fastball. His fastball just jumps all over the place, and when he started to kind of close his delivery a little bit, and the way he comes with his delivery, closes as long as possible, that's helped him stay straight to the plate and helped him throw strikes more. And his fastball's a plus pitch, but his split finger has really been the difference maker, and going to be the closer, at least for now, for Mike Matheny and the Cardinals.
You know, as I asked Glenn Perkins earlier in the ballgame when I did that interview with him down there, has he had the opportunity to close yet? He said he has not. And I don't know what his schedule is, but today would have been a good day to maybe have that opportunity. But here, Boggs, if he's going to be the closer, no better time than about a week left before opening day to try to get the save.
Looking at Boggs with that closed delivery reminds me a lot of a former Cardinal and now Indian closer Chris Perez, who does the same thing.
And they were former teammates at one point.
Yep.
The Cardinals were fortunate enough to have Perez and Mott and Boggs all at the same time, and they were trying to figure out which one of them was going to be their closer of the future, and it was a real toss-up at the time.
you know, with that closed delivery, what that does allow you to get that left leg up and get to that balance point a little bit quicker. And that's a big part of Boggs' delivery. Get that knee up, stay back, and let her fly.
Good day at the plate for Eduardo Escobar. His third hit, 2 doubles, and now a single that he pulls through the hole to right.
Ninth inning is never easy, is it?
Well, ball down, not a bad pitch. Escobar just finding the hole between first and second.
And a chance for young Aaron Hicks to deliver a hit off the bench, with Darren Mastroianni leaving the ball game here in the bottom of the 9th inning. The switch hitting Hicks will get a chance. Hicks, after the game yesterday, proclaimed the starting center fielder for the Minnesota Twins after a 4-hit ball game. Nice time to give the youngster the news.
You think he made some phone calls yesterday? You get the hits, probably made some phone calls, probably got on Twitter. The whole world knows.
Don't know how Ron Gardenhire is approaching this at bat, but this might be a situation where they want to see Hicks and his ability to hit late in the ball game and hit against an established major league pitcher. If instead of Boggs it was somebody with a number beginning with a 9, maybe the Twins don't make this move. And Hicks takes down an in ball 1. But Boggs has been with the Cardinals for parts of 5 years coming into this year. So this is a little bit of a measuring stick in a different role for Aaron Hicks. Hicks has shown a very good eye at the plate and a lot of patience at the plate. Now, the really good pinch hitters often talk about getting the first pitch that looks good and being ready to hit right away early in the at-bat. But I would think, just as a fan, the very things that would make him a good leadoff batter and watching a lot of pitches going deep in the count would serve him well as a pinch hitter.
Well, you know, you look at Hicks, I mean, this will be his first season at the major league level. He hasn't seen a lot of these pitchers before, so, you know, you not only go up there to take a pitch, also what's that pitch look like? Is it a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? Does it have some movement? You know, a lot of times pitchers will show you that the first couple pitches. So, you know, hitters like Hicks, it's going to be tough the first time around. If I'm a pitcher and I'm facing a guy like Hicks, well, I'm going to go strike one right off the get-go because, you know, I think he's going to take a pitch.
And this job's a tough job. You come in and face a team's closer, and the rest of the league hits 120 against this closer, and you're coming off the bench cold, and, you know, it's tough to have a good at-bat, so the challenge is good for him.
And a pinch hit for Aaron Hicks. There isn't anything that he hasn't done this spring, including now deliver a pinch hit in the 9th inning.
Well, he worked the count in his favor. 2 balls, 1 strike. Boggs comes in with a fastball, kept it up a little bit, and Hicks lined it into right field. So the Twins trying to score some runs in the 9th inning as the Cardinals took a 4-3 lead with 3 runs in the top of the inning.
So Jason Christian will come up with the tying run at second and nobody out. Christian, an Ohio native. Came through the Athletics farm system.
Ooh.
Bunt, foul.
Yeah, there's a misplay right there. The shortstop went to cover second base, so shortstop was wide open.
And the open glove, as you mentioned earlier, Bert, always means daylight. Always means that daylight means throw to me. You see
or
the open glove,
yep.
Open glove come back to me, and the shortstop way out of position, expecting a throw at that point. And Mitchell Boggs didn't see him. Again, the Cardinals are going to be aggressive on this. They're going to try to get the lead out.
Well, the same thing happened again. Bunt fouled again, but that time, again, the shortstop, Garcia, just stood at second base. He didn't try to retreat knowing that a bunt was coming.
And Descalzo having a conversation with the shortstop. Again, he goes to second. He's holding the runner there. They're not putting the wheel play on. The wheel play is when the shortstop actually heads to third to try to get the lead runner there, but the Cardinals not using that play right now.
And Christian takes up and away, 1-2. Christian, shortstop. His first camp with the Twins.
This could be, guys, a design play here to have the shortstop really force that runner back to the base. He's going hard into second base basically to hold him on with some extra pressure because they did it 3 straight times.
And a chopped foul.
Well, I found that, you know, first couple times okay because it was a bunting situation,
Right.
but now that he's swinging away, you're kind of leaving yourself open for a hard-throwing right-hander to a left-hander just slapping the ball the other way.
Absolutely.
Christian in the minor leagues, over 1,200 at bats, a .262 hitter. In a 1-2 count. Chop foul. Scotty Alger with a nice right-handed pickup. Not much pop in his bat. 19 home runs in the 1,200 at bats. Tough assignment here with 2 strikes, hoping to at least move the runners up. 1-2. Nice block by Johnson.
That might have been the split finger you're talking about that Boggs has.
Actually spent some time with Bruce Sutter talking about that pitch. He was in Cardinal camp as well, and there's the good form for Johnson behind the plate to just smother that ball. Nobody did that better than Mike Matheny as a catcher for the Cardinals, Gold Glove winner. But how about having Bruce Sutter help you with a split finger?
Not bad.
Another one chopped foul.
It's interesting, Bruce in camp, he's such an unassuming guy, and I know you know him as a fellow Hall of Famer, and he's one of those guys that's just so hesitant to step on anybody's toes, and he's very hesitant to really go out of his way to kind of enforce his will on any pitcher. And
well, you expect the players to come to him.
Exactly. And he's just, you know, really he just needs to come to spring training and just be Bruce. That's all he's got to do.
Christian hanging tough. 2-2 now against Mitchell Boggs. Bounce to second. And Boggs gets his double play grounder. And Escobar moves to third.
Well, what creates that again is that splitter fastball down in the strike zone. There wasn't a pitch up, but he got the ground ball when he needed it. Take a look at the pitch. Ball outer half of the plate. Christian trying to pull it. 4-6-3 double play.
Danny Lehman, the batter. And he takes ball 1 with Escobar the tying run now at third base.
And I believe that was Ilmaro Vargas, Cardinal minor leaguer, who got to turn that double play at second base. Vargas played an A-ball a year ago with the Cardinals, and he found himself in a big part of this game.
Oh, and hit well to left center field. But it ends the game. Lehman gave it a ride. The Cardinals come back with 3 runs in the top of the 9th to beat the Twins here in Fort Myers 4-3. And Bert, as the Twins were looking forward to Mike Pelfrey having a good outing, he may have given the Twins his best outing in spring training.
I think the Twins have to be very happy at the job that Pelfrey did. Good ball game. Ricky enjoyed it, man. It was a lot of fun working with you.
A pleasure being with you guys. This was really fun here today, and I really do appreciate the ring that you have just deposited in my hand. And I hope we cross paths again and wish you guys
We're going to have to.
That's right. Exactly.
Mitchell Boggs gets the save, a 4-3 Cardinal win. Opening day 1 week away. 1 week from today for both these teams. The Twins will open at Target Field. On Monday, the Cardinals will open in Arizona. Thanks for joining us today for Ricky Horton, Bert Blyleven, Dick Bramer. Everybody have a great evening.